morning. Happy Tuesday, everybody, wherever you are, however you may be listening. Thanks for making us part of your day. Beautiful, sunny, hot as shit day in Mesa, Arizona. Looking for a high of about 103 today. So wherever you're at, congratulations on not being in an oven. Looks like we're back into summer. Thank you. I did bring back the Jeffrey Dahmer glasses. Those might be here to stay for a little bit. I am medicated in two ways this morning, just slightly in one way, and in another way, heavily medicated for my ADHD. So this is it's kind of like a battle between medications that we've got going on today. So we'll see how it goes. These are my blue blockers. Thank you. That's good. Yeah, all those who are joining us on TikTok, be prepared to have TikTok go down at some point. We'll see how that goes. We made it through about an hour and a half yesterday, maybe 2. Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning. So, like, I don't think we've ever discussed like you needing glasses. So these aren't just like style; they're for looks.
They're just blue blockers. So when my eyes get a little dry from time to time, I put them on, and it puts less stress on your eyes. But no, I have good vision.
Okay. So got it. Blue blockers.
Thank you. That's why they're yellow, I think.
I don't know. I mean, do you sit very close to the screen? Is it super close to you?
I mean, I can't quite reach it when I put my arm out here. Is that super close? It's like just out of reach.
Okay. All right. I didn't know if it was because you like had bad vision or something else. I was just curious.
Glaucoma? Is that what you're suggesting?
No.
Okay. What are you suggesting here?
I don't know. I'm just curious. My
eyes are just a little dry. That's it. Sometimes this time of year, your eyes can dry out a bit.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard eye drops are a thing too.
I just put in eye drops, and so my eyes are also a little watery, and it looks like I'm wearing mascara because I have thick eyelashes, and when I put eye drops, then it clumps together.
Got it. All right. Like I said, I was just being nosy. That's all.
That's a crazy question from Oh My. Jesus Christ. Did you always have ADHD and brain issues, or did a pharma event cause it? I wouldn't say I have brain issues. ADHD, but usually people with ADHD are pretty smart. That's crazy. No, but pharmaceutical industry did help with it. Having ADHD medication is the only way I can do this show every day. And I mean, you guys think it's bad, like me starting on time is bad now. Imagine if I was unmedicated. We'd start anywhere from between 9:30 and 11 p.m.
Yeah.
It would be a nightmare.
We've seen you unmedicated with ADHD. So
it's tough. It's tough for me.
It's like herding cats. But...
Anyways, that was a crazy question. Oh my. I don't think that's I think some people, I'm not offended by that. I think maybe be careful who you ask that question to, though. I think some people might be offended that you think that it's like a brain issue to have ADHD.
Well, they said they have ADHD and brain issues.
Yeah, and then caused by a virus, which isn't like a pharma issue, right? It's not pharmaceutical industry that caused that. That was a virus.
Yeah.
Was it the woke mind virus? Oh my, is that what it was? Did we finally infect you? We did it, guys. We got oh my, the woke mind virus. All right, cool, Jen. Do you have any updates on your roster? Don't leave me hanging like that. It's devastating.
No, I think I'm like I said, trying out new
genders,
letting new people try out for the team. I've supposed to be going out with. I've got 2 inquiries about dates this week. And I've got this whole thing where it's like I've only got so much time because it's just me.
Yeah, so many suitors, so little time.
Yeah, so it's I try to like vet them a little bit through messages or texting before I agree to see if there's any craziness that pops up.
How do you do the background check? Real quick, actually, Oscar Sophia said, "Can you guys send some temperature to Iceland? We could use some here." Yeah. Well, I'll go outside and blow in your direction when we're done with this live. How do you do like a background check? How do you know that the people you're going out with are safe? What's that
I don't
process like?
necessarily. I don't background check them before I go on a date. I mean, you meet in public and that kind of stuff.
Do you guys? Does anybody in the chat? Do you guys do like a background check before you go out? I feel like I don't know.
I mean, I look up. Once if I get their phone number, I googled their number, their name. I mean, I search different things about them, see if I can find anything. But other than that,
think, oh my, you talking about spike proteins? Okay. Well, I just didn't know. I don't know how serious that is. I get their fingerprints first. Cam. Can we discuss Cam, by the way? When Cam said he was 6'2", and he said that, it was actually funny. Did you see the picture that he sent to verify his height?
no, I
He's.
didn't see it.
I'm gonna show it to everybody. This is. He's like, look, I'm 6'2". The door frame is a reference. That's. Sorry, Cam. You didn't mean to do that. I've been laughing about that all fucking week. Like all week, I just keep scrolling through my messages and I see it, and I die every single time. That was funny. That was legitimately funny, Cam.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I look into what I can find. I'm trying to do a full-on background check. It's not like you get their first and last name. I mean, not all that. So
well, I know there's like those services that like
that cost. Those aren't free.
Yeah, but if you're going to be dating when you're on the market, you can probably get them for like what, $5 or $10. It seems like money well spent. Maybe we should start a service here. That's what you ought to do. You should just be hired by like wealthy people to check on their dates.
I mean, the whole thing about it is a lot of the times I don't go beyond a first date. So if it becomes something more serious, then yeah, maybe. But I'm going to meet someone for coffee. I'm not going to go do a background check.
Do you remember a couple weeks ago when, I guess whenever it was, that Swalwell, like all that shit broke, and there was that billionaire backer of his who came out and was like, he's dead to me? Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was something like maybe not he's dead to me. I think it was like, once you break the trust, there's no more trust. It was a really stupid quote. Do you guys remember that in the chat? Does anybody remember that guy? I could probably find the video, honestly. I listened to it the other day. That guy that bailed on Swalwell is suing his fiance for like a few $1 million now, because she was like not a honeypot, like a sugar baby, and now she's fleeced him out of like millions of dollars and won't marry him now. And it's crazy. They went through the whole there's this whole industry in LA where like these billionaires just call and they're like, I swear to God, it feels just like Epstein, but they just call and somebody will set them up like a matchmaker and set them up with some model in their 20s. And then all these billionaires are getting fleeced, or these rich people are getting fleeced, and now they're pissed and they're like suing all of these sugar babies. It's a wild story. Maybe we'll cover it one day. We could watch that for our next members only event.
So what is it again? I mean, it's a show or just
let me scroll back. Why don't you do your announcements for a second? I'll scroll back and I'll see if I can find it in my history.
All right. So welcome everybody. The TikTok ban appeal went through, so we're here on TikTok. So if you're watching on TikTok, let's get the likes up to 25K. That'd be great. If you haven't sent your daily heart me, please do so. We're trying to keep the gift goal updated over there so that hopefully we're less likely to get banned, but it's with the things that Jay says, it's often likely that we'll probably get banned.
I'm just scrolling here. How am I catching strays?
Just cause that's how it goes.
All right.
And it's for the people that are here. If you just found us, the main got banned, so that permanent ban. So if you're not following, this account was the backup, now the new main. So make sure you're
billionaires are obviously great at building companies.
You want to go live, but if you're watching on YouTube, if you could hit the thumbs up, like the stream, and if you guys would like to join, what is this?
This is the video. I found the video. Well, just wait and do your thing. I'll show the video.
Right,
we're going off script today.
Yes, obviously.
Yeah, shut up.
All right. So if you want to join us for members only events, we have another one coming up next Wednesday. How you do that is you're either a paid member or just subscriber, whatever it's called, on TikTok, Twitch, or YouTube. You can join us for members only events. Any of the different levels of memberships, that you can join the members only events. If you guys disagree with our TP and like to come up and have a conversation, you can do that by sending me a message on Discord. My Discord username is the same as the Venmo, so Jen with 2 N's, W with 2 B's, the number 1. We've got our gift goal that we need to hit each day because this is our job and this is how we're able to do this each day. So if we can knock that out sooner rather than later, that would be sweet. Check out the link tree in the bio. We're on most social media platforms. We've got merch tees on Cameo. We upload these episodes to Spotify. Did you know if you rearrange the letters of postman, they become very angry?
That's pretty. I like that one. I was immediately scrambling the letters of the word. Yeah, I like that one. That's good. So I was reading. Who is this unsubscribable? Demo rat dummies are broke. No more fraud. Cleaned out their wallets. I like that. Your bumper stickers are catchy. All right, so this is a guy named Spencer Cornelia. I can't stand this guy, actually. He's kind of an investigative journalist, but not a very good one. He's also this whole video is like deeply sexist, but you can go watch it. I'll just show you the intro and then you can go watch it. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but this is the guy who was backing Swalwell, and then was like, he's dead to me.
And growing their wealth. However, many are so clueless with women. Billionaire Steven Klubeck is one of them, as he's just been arrested for his involvement with his girlfriend's affairs. She has been described as the penthouse pet. Her name is Adva Levy, but she does have a couple pseudonyms, and she's a con artist. She was exposed in 2025 as a thief, known for luring rich men into thinking they were about to have a good time with her, only to steal their luxury items and cash. Steven...
How do people get catfish? Oh, this isn't catfishing. This is later. Never mind.
Probably thought she meant well, and it was all just a giant misunderstanding. Clearly, he was blindsided by a younger woman who liked him and was giving him some lovey-dovey. Whenever you see couples like this, we generally believe that the man provides the good look.
If you just saw those people together, you'd be like, that's a couple. His face is stretched so tight. Like his lips can't unpurse. That's a lot of work.
And the woman is sweet, innocent, and has zero ulterior motive. But this story is different. We have a clueless billionaire chasing after gold diggers, and one is a con artist. What makes this story even more entertaining for us both is that Steven has a wild history with another woman prior to Adva. Back in 2021, Vanity Fair wrote an article about Steven titled Private Jets, Mega Mansions, and Broken Hearts inside the mess.
To him twice. Stop saying that billionaires are smart. It's so crazy. We keep acting like these people are fucking brilliant. They're so stupid. Just twice? No, they're totally into me for what I look like, for sure.
Litigious breakup of an OnlyFans model and her...
Yeah, wait. For the record, Spencer Cornelia is... he only thinks the OnlyFans model here is the problem. Stephanie Klubeck. Oh, no. That's Steven Klubeck. Stephanie Grzansky. He's deeply sexist with all of his reporting, but yeah. He even says, like, how does somebody become a billionaire that this is smart and has this happen to him? Maybe they weren't that smart the whole time. Maybe they were always just crooks.
Uber wealthy boyfriend. He also recently hit the news because his former roommate, Eric Swalwell, was running for governor of California, and they apparently recently had a falling out.
Are you guys still friends?
Eric who? Is that clear?
Not really, honestly. Honestly, that's not very clear.
Don't bust the trust. You bust the trust, okay?
Okay.
You don't exist in my life.
That's a clever...
None of that was clever. Yeah, these guys aren't that smart. Anyways, you can go watch the rest of that. But I'm glad that guy got fleeced. Honestly, I'm on the side of... I hope it happens again. I hope it happens a third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh time. I hope he loses all his money to younger women who are like, oh, this guy's dumb enough to give me all of his money. That's great. Anyways, that was totally off script. Let's get on script. This was put up by Brooklyn Dad. If you don't follow Brooklyn Dad, I guess this was a Rachel Maddow segment. But Brooklyn Dad just said, if you're entertained by video clips displaying Trump's many humiliating losses, then this is the clip to start your day with. So that's what we're going to start our day with. Also, Sophia said, need to fix the GIF goal shows up. It isn't visible on the screen. I saw that and I fixed it. Thank you. Amy said, number one predictor of someone's wealth is the wealth of their family, not intellect. I don't know if he inherited wealth, but he inherited a bizarre face shape. I know that.
Trump decided to put a car race on the streets of D.C., for which someone had the brilliant idea to market this official T-shirt, which says, "One nation, one race." The T-shirt only comes in white. Seriously. They had to take that down off the website after not being quite able to explain.
Now, MAGA will tell you that's not what we meant. That's fine. Why is nobody smart enough to realize how that would be taken, though? That's the part that MAGA always forgets. It's not, they didn't mean it. Fine, sure you didn't. Stephen Miller totally didn't design that on purpose. But why didn't anybody go, hey, this is going to seem weird here. That's supposed to be Lincoln. There was a lot of stuff to do with race with Lincoln. Maybe we don't put one race underneath that. Like, you can say that it's not racist, and we don't agree with you. We probably don't believe you because we know this administration. But what you can't say is that it was smart. There's a through line through, we just talked about billionaires, but there's another through line through like conservative politicians. They're not bright. You can't be that smart to still be like, oh, trickle down economics is going to work. Conservative values really benefit the country. We should cut taxes for rich people again. Like, you have to just have given up on critical thinking at this point to believe in anything that the Republican Party or conservatives or fiscal conservatives believe in. It's nonsense. All of it is nonsense.
Explain that one. One race. Trump now has called for the cancellation of a concert that he had tried to plan in Washington for the 250th after, again, a melon.
They don't have any people of color on their team to call them out on. Yeah, I mean, you got Tim Scott. You got Ted Cruz is Hispanic. You got Rubio. He's Cuban. There should be some understanding there.
Bunch of celebrities and former celebrities they thought they had persuaded to come perform, I think basically started hearing from their fans about whether or not it's a good idea to perform for a Donald Trump event this year. All those celebrities and former celebrities started to drop out. Trump was humiliated by that for obvious reasons, and so now he's called for the whole event to be canceled, and he...
There's no performers. Fine, I'll do the show. It's just going to be Trump in front of his cabinet air jerking it to YMCA and ranting incoherently for 3 hours, and then everybody's going to pretend like it was a good event. It's his birthday. Nobody will come, so he's like, that's fine. I will stand up there and say the same shit I say every single day, and people will applaud it. Fuck it. Do it live. Bring Bill O'Reilly. Fuck it. Bring Bill O'Reilly. That'd be better. Bring up Bill O'Reilly. Is all the greats, all their great awful people. Who's the one? What's the sports broadcaster's name? They got fired for for what he said about the Rutgers women's basketball team. Bring that guy in. Bring Rush Limbaugh back from the dead. Bring them all in. No, not Stephen A. Don Imus. Thank you. Well done. Long live GCW. That's a deep track there. Well done.
Has announced that he himself should be the headliner instead. So, okay.
Kid Rock is hosting. So is that what it's going to be now? Is it going to be Kid Rock is like, and now your president, Donald Trump. And then just the cabinet stands up with semi-firm erections because you know what they don't have? I'm tired of you making us look like whiny little bitches. I'm tired of it. I would like if people looked at America and said, hey, these people are skeptical of their government. We try and be like, hey, we're not just lining up to suck the dick. I've been stretching my mouth. I've been preparing for this. Was it Kash Patel? Put it in there. Pete Hegseth? Put it in there. Donald Trump? Put it in there. Blue Chew? Give me all the dicks. So they'll be semi-erect was the point there. I actually pushed the button on the wrong ad. It was supposed to be the other one, but we went with it anyways. We turned it patriotic. That's a good ad for the 250th anniversary of this country. I think Blue Chew, if you're out there, free ad for you. You can run it. It'll be perfect. You can run it during the UFC event on Paramount. Paramount likes me, I think.
Be great. And you know, this is kind of how it goes with Trump. His first inauguration in Washington, this was the musical entertainment, remember?
I forgot about this. I don't remember what that is. The Jabba Nazis? What is that? I don't know what group this is.
Poorly organized, poorly attended, and sort of sadly underwhelming. When it came to star power, the vibe was like cut rate wedding
I
DJ.
don't even know what this is. Are they playing the strings of a piano in here? I couldn't. There's no audio here, so we're just guessing. No, Jabba Nazis is what I said. That would be the MAGA equivalent of Jabberwockies, right? That was the joke there. I don't know what this is, though.
And desultory junior varsity marching band. Even for Trump, I think it was therefore kind of a relief when his second
Is that Lee Greenwood? Is that who that is?
inauguration came around and had to be moved indoors for poor weather. At least they wouldn't need the the piano guys again or whatever. Then there was the North Korea style military parade. He tried to throw himself for his birthday.
Look at that massive attendance. God damn. This is so fucking embarrassing. I feel like maybe we should just go back and relive this. Can you imagine at the beginning of Trump's term telling people all the shit that people would just ignore that were totally normal? It's just this sponsored military parade that was fucking horrific and nobody went. It was like there was Palantir signs everywhere and Boeing and Northrop Grumman. So weird.
That turned out to be sad and small and also radically underattended. That day it was dwarfed by the No Kings protest that took place against him all over the country. This is how things go for him. I mean, remember the pro-Trump Super Bowl halftime show that everybody was supposed to watch instead of the real one with Bad Bunny? But in the Trump one, Kid Rock kind of just lost the thread trying to live.
Do they just only have one set of pyrotechnics? They just borrow it from I guess actually it was Turning Point USA that put that on. Okay, those were the tier makers. Those are Erica Kirk tier makers there. It's hard to tell the difference between a Charlie Kirk funeral and a Kid Rock concert. Same people, same incoherency, same amount of pyrotechnics.
Lip sync and gave up halfway through. I mean, Trump is just not good at this stuff.
All right. I think Brooklyn Dad was correct. That was a good way to start things off. I want you to see what Maria Bartiromo is fear-mongering on this morning. This is do you guys remember that episode of The Office when Will Ferrell takes over and he comes in and he's like, I don't care what kind of ice cream you like. You're going to eat it every week on Thursday for Ice Cream Thursday. And he's like, Daryl, I'm sending you to college or night school. No questions asked. Paid for by the company. Boom. And everybody's like, these sound like good things. This reminded me of that when Maria Bartiromo lists off what the radical left is up to.
If this is going to be a factor in the midterms. I mean, here we are in primary season, Congressman. Socialist Democrat Francesca Hong is running for governor in your state. She's been endorsed by Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. Her policies include free...
Is Ilhan Omar Elon now? Do they call her Elon now? They used to say it right. Now they're just purposely doing it wrong.
Child care, a minimum wage of $20 an hour.
This is my favorite.
Publicly owned grocery stores.
Oh, no.
Obviously increasing taxes on the rich
Oh,
and
no.
the highest earners. And she wants to ban the construction of data centers, Congressman.
Oh,
Your
no.
thoughts?
These are all wildly popular ideas in America. Fear-mongering to American, or I guess Wisconsin residents, that they might accidentally get free childcare, $20 minimum wage, publicly owned grocery stores, rich people paying more in taxes, and no data centers making your towns look like shit and taking up all the power and water. Oh, no. Oh, no. This is what they're cut down to at this point. How do they even take this seriously? And it's going to piss there's going to be like a couple people in here. Is MAGA here yet? There's going to be some of them that are pissed off. This will make some people mad. I have seen that Mystic Mimic. Jen, could you find me the video of Pete Hegseth working out with the Navy? Specifically doing like the hip stretch when he's running and I don't know what those are called. I don't know, but it's tough to watch. Yeah, this is what they're like. You guys got to be afraid of this.
Ban the construction of data centers, Congressman. Your thoughts?
Well, the Democratic primary for governor in the state of Wisconsin mirrors Democratic primaries in my congressional seat and others across the country. Radical Democrats are moving further and further to the left, and that's where the base of the Democratic Party is. You can look
Yeah. That's where humans are also. Humans want those things. This is what radical communism sounds like now. Is that people will get a fair, like a more fair wage. You don't have to choose between your wages and your child care anymore. You can just make wages and also have child care, and then you can save some money probably and pay your bills instead of paying for child care all the time. What was Oh My's thought to this? Sorry. Oh My found it. No such thing as free healthcare. Jesus Christ. Of course not. It's free for people who qualify for it. Like there's no such thing as free roads either. Oh My, but I bet you drive on them. No such thing as free schools. Some people don't pay, right? Just kind of how shit works. That's how easy it is to, like, they just give you a talking point and you're like, oh, never mind. I'm not for good ideas anymore because they said that free healthcare isn't free and nobody can overcome that talking point. So I'm just not now going to support single payer healthcare. There already is free healthcare in this country. It already exists for some people, right? Who pays for it? Someone pays for it. That's how all of this works. That's just a basic fundamental way that our government operates, right? So don't stop there with the argument. That's a silly argument to then say like, can't give people health care or child care.
Further than the mayor of New York City to recognize where the base of the Democrats are. And so it's these types of policies that we're working against. And we need to make sure that we're out there working through this midterm.
Do it. Go out there. Run only on this. Where are we at? 54 seconds? Just go. Every Republican, just do it. Go out and be like, you will pay for your fucking child care. You will accept a $7.25 minimum wage. All grocery stores must be owned by private venture capital. The rich need to keep more of their money, and all of your communities need to have data centers in them. Yeah, go campaign on that, please. For the love of God, please only campaign on that. But they won't. They say this is what they say is radical, and then they'll go out there and they'll be like, she wants to turn all the boys into girls and all the girls into boys. And the border is closed. And Iran's going to nuke us. That's all they'll run. And Donald Trump has the nicest dick I've ever seen in my life. I think about it all the time. It's basically all I think about. Everybody always says that it's not cool to have a skinny shaft with a massive mushroom head, but I say otherwise. I think that's the perfect dick. Yeah, clip it. Go ahead, clip it. Phoenix said, next you're going to tell me she's against the torment nexus. This is ridiculous. I don't know what the hell's the torment nexus? I'm getting out nerded here. Popular internet meme. Oh, that makes sense. Critical phrase used to describe the real-world creation of dystopian technologies that were originally invented as all right, that's why. It's cool. It's something trendy. That's why I don't know what it is. Okay, cool. Cue the peepaw shit in the chat.
In my congressional seat and others across the country, radical Democrats are moving further and further to the left. And that's where the base of the Democratic Party is. You can look no further than the mayor of New York City to recognize where the base of the Democrats are. And so it's these types of policies that we're working against.
Just balance the budget. Got New York to get more federal money to cover for it, too. He paid people $30 an hour to shovel snow, and they fucking loved it. He's delivering on child care. He's delivering, probably going to deliver on rent freezes. Yeah. That awful mayor in New York. Yeah, we get it. He's Muslim. We get it. You can just say, I hate Muslims. Everything they do is radical. But that's what they really mean here. Because everything Mom Donnie's done is like, there's not even, are there any failures yet from Mom Donnie? He might have a perfect record so far. I think we all expected some failures. I didn't think he'd be able to get his agenda through. I thought they would block his agenda, but holy shit, he's doing pretty well.
And we need to make sure that we're out there working through this midterm to overcome these types of radical Democratic proposals, is why I'm actually really excited. President Trump is coming to the state of Wisconsin this Friday to talk about the reforms that we're making at the national level. He's coming to Derek Van Orden's district, another competitive seat that is going to be our opportunity to hold the House and to continue to advance President Trump's agenda nationally.
The Democrats are radical. Here's their agenda. Our agenda is Donald Trump is terrific. We think he is so terrific. That's the whole agenda you guys are running on. Somebody called him a radical lunatic. Yeah, we got the dumbest of the dumb left. All right, let's look at Pete Hegseth exercising. This is actually pretty incredible. I like the short shorts. First of all, Pete, I applaud that. Love the Nazi tattoos. Those are cool. That's what they were looking at. They were identifying cloud figures. And Pete said, that looks like a whiskey bottle. Go! Get that leg around, Pete. Swing it. Nobody else is doing that. Clearly, they're all just doing like cross legs. He doesn't know what the exercise is here. Right? That's not even the right one. They're just go front back. What is? Kick. Like Jake Lang out there. What is that? Where's Pete? We got to find him. Where is he here? In the gray shirt. Oh, he's back. Look at that freeze frame. He's back here. Oh, no. Why are your legs so close together? Oh, no, I missed it. Whew. That whiskey's pouring out. That's a lot of sweat. He does seem to be the sweatiest. What the fuck is going on? Why? Why is he even doing it? What is the point of any of this? This entire administration is just a reality television show. They're all just convinced they're on reality TV. This is just one big cosplay. Give them some pool noodles and some cute costumes. Let them play in the park. I don't know why we're pretending this is a real government anymore. Just go down there and whack each other with pool noodles. We'll call you whatever you want. You can be the Department of War. You can have all of your Nazi buddies there. You could even wear your hoods if you want. Just please get the fuck out of the government. This is embarrassing. And honestly, all of that pretty impressive for a person his age. I do wonder what Benedict Cumberbatch is doing here next to him. I'm surprised to see Benedict Cumberbatch hanging out with Pete Hegseth, but here we are. I'm the reason Trump won in a landslide. I won in a landslide because all of you wanted a LARP government. We don't want our government to be real. We want them to all be reality TV stars. We need some entertainment. Yeah, I agree with you, actually. I do think people telling the truth is one of the reasons Trump won. Sure. There were a lot of dumb people. All right, that's probably enough. Probably enough of Pete Hegseth. All right. This is actually pissing me off. I think this is a place I was wrong. I defended the release of Tina Peters. I was obviously wrong. I think I told you that if it came back, if this backfired, I would come and say that I was wrong. I do think now it's pretty clear something's up with Governor Polis. He's being so fucking strange about this now. He's refusing to speak. He's refusing to give details. His own party censured him, and now he's just turning into Fetterman. Something happened. I don't know what happened, but I was wrong about Tina Peters. I apologize. Those of you who said, fuck that, she should stay in jail, you were all right. This is pathetic.
One of the biggest wins in President Trump's effort to discredit American elections. The win isn't evidence of his election rigging claims, still none of that. This win wasn't even delivered by the president or one of his Republican allies. No, it's thanks to Colorado's Democratic Governor Jared Polis, who boosted Trump's movement by freeing Tina Peters today, less than 2 years into her 9-year sentence for a breach of Colorado's voting systems.
Somebody said he's getting some sort of payoff. I kind of looked for that. I did look into what is the name of that company? There's there is a there's a verification. They do like or certification company that certifies the voting machines based out of there. It's called SLI Global Solutions. They're based in Wheat Ridge, Colorado. I tried to see if there was anything there going from SLI to his campaign. I couldn't find anything, but that might be a place to look, and you'll see why during this news segment.
Within hours, Peters was back on MAGA media, proclaiming that elections are rigged by voting machines.
I know that the Democrats are going to cheat, and no one's really addressing the problem that I spent my time in prison.
I want you to pay attention to what she says, because I do think that perhaps we understand now why so many of these people were convinced that Democrats cheated, but they couldn't find the evidence. I think it's because they're halfway there. I think they're halfway there to knowing that you can hack elections, but what they haven't recognized is who hacked the elections. And the reason they can't find evidence is, my guess, on Democrats is because every time you get to the bottom of any of these conspiracy theories that includes the voting machines and voting systems, they're all owned by Republican loyalists. So it doesn't make sense that it would be Democrats, right? It also would make sense as to why Tina Peters and the rest of the Republicans get so close and they find these vulnerabilities, but by looking at Democrats and instead of inward, they're not able to find that evidence. I actually think that she probably, based on what she did, based on what we watched yesterday, if you were here, she let somebody from an outside group get in and look at the machines. And what they were trying to find from the machines is potentially the things we talked about yesterday, any sort of internet connectivity, any sort of memory device that has been edited or that could manipulate votes. You would maybe want to check the history of incoming votes, see if there was like an original history and then a reformed history. So I think that like if I were trying to get in and prove that 2024 was stolen, I would want the same access that she gave somebody else. And the fact that they never found anything after that tells you one of two things: that it's either vulnerable, but nobody has hacked it, or it's vulnerable and they only have confirmed that the DNC didn't hack it. And they don't seem to be looking at Republicans. Now, this is another one of those instances, though, where Democrats have fucked up. Why is it that Republicans are allowed since, for what are we at, 6 years now? For 6 years, they've been able to go in and get data from these elections, audit everywhere they want to audit. They're able to go in and get the machines. They're doing forensic audits. They've done dozens of them, and Democrats have done zero. We can't even get Democrats to like jump on board. That's the one benefit of being a cult of personality, is that without any evidence, you can open investigations. That's a place where Democrats have fucked up, and perhaps they need to use what's happening with Tina Peters, as a way to start these investigations. Maybe Polis is a genius. Maybe Polis is an absolute genius, and he pardoned her and is going to say, like, all right, cool, now we're going to open these machines up, and we're going to prove once and for all that the election was stolen, or we're going to get to the bottom of it, and then it'll flip. Maybe, probably not. But that would be his out. I have to give myself another out in case I'm wrong this time, too. This guy Fox says, I think Polis did it to secure that water rights thing in Boebert's district and for Trump to keep his grubby fingers out of Denver. Maybe. I don't know why it's so important to the GOP, though, to get Tina Peters out. I guess it's not that important. They just don't care about the water issue either.
As retribution for, and that was exposing the election machines that allow the votes to be. It's
5D chess. Sorry.
Flipped.
Peters did not uncover evidence of voting machines flipping votes. She's a convicted felon because she got caught sneaking something.
Sherry said, may I request Hatless Tuesday? Probably not today, but maybe next Tuesday. Remind me on Monday. I can do it, or any day. Yeah, we can go hatless.
Someone into Colorado's voting systems to turn over sensitive data to fellow conspiracy theorists. Today, Peters defended Governor Polis from the quote-unquote horrible media and the haters who are criticizing his decision to free her. And her attorney and allies said their next step is criminal charges against Colorado's top Democrats, including Secretary of State Jenna Griswold.
Encourage Don Blanche. If he doesn't do it, I'll end up doing it if I get to be the AG. But somebody needs to charge this woman for her insurrection, her sedition.
When I'm governor, we're going to work very hard to make sure that she is brought to justice, that she's indicted and hopefully put in jail, and also with her accomplice in a lot of this, which is Attorney General Weiser.
Governor Polis is lying low today after taking a carrot and stick approach to the backlash for his clemency for Tina Peters. Governor Polis munched on a carrot for nearly a full minute as reporters tried to ask him questions about why he freed Peters. And after Colorado Democrats voted overwhelmingly to ban Polis from speaking at party events, he showed up on a party Zoom meeting with tape over his mouth.
See, this is the behavior then gets weird. This is the behavior of somebody very guilty. Just like overplaying. If this was really like something that you thought about and you just felt like you did the right thing, I just think it's a totally different response. I think you go out there and you're like, you know what? Like, I understand that people are frustrated by this. Here's my reasoning. You can agree or disagree. Like, this type of behavior screams guilty to me. This screams like put on a show to throw off the scent.
Events, he showed up on a party Zoom meeting with tape over his mouth. Vice President J.D. Vance had suggested that Peters could get restitution from the $1.8 billion slush fund set up by President Trump to reward his allies who claim to have been prosecuted unfairly. But today, after strong bipartisan pushback and legal scrutiny, the Trump administration said it's dropping the idea of the slush fund.
That has actually reopened an investigation into Trump. That will be interesting. I don't remember. Do I have that on here? I'm trying to remember if I had it on here or not. I don't think so. Okay. Moving on. Let's get to trade real quick. Jameson Greer was on, what is this, CNBC. Jameson Greer is the person basically he's the idea man behind the tariffs. He's a trade representative, and he went on CNBC to defend the tariffs, and it didn't go well because the tariffs are stupid and they were a catastrophic failure. And Donald Trump doesn't understand economics. And almost everything he's done has backfired spectacularly. And we can only really laugh about it because it sucks. Like, we all still live here. We all have to deal with the effects of it. And admittedly, it might give some of us some small pleasure to watch you guys like steal the 8 of you left just spinning and spinning and spinning as if things are going really well.
So there's been more nuance to it than people realize. Just last night we released a proposal on tariffs on Brazil for a number of unfair trading practices they had. And again, that was something that was quite nuanced. So we're trying to go very carefully to change the terms of trade between the United States and the rest of the world, and also be careful.
But Jameson, to be fair, I think that's a more recent approach to it. When we had Liberation Day last April, those were exactly the complaints we were hearing from grocery store owners and others saying we can't buy bananas anymore because we don't grow them here. And every country that does, we've got these huge tariffs on it. Is it fair to say that it's become more precise as you've gone along?
Well, I never heard they couldn't buy bananas. There was never a banana shortage in the U.S.
That's what Target CEO told us on air.
I never heard anyone having a banana shortage.
That never happened. The CEO of Target said that. I never heard it. All right, well. Why'd you put a tariff on bananas? Yellow, no, it's not. The whole system is corrupt. It's both parties. This is not a fence sitter place. You got to go. There's nothing that will piss us off more than you coming in and being like, it's both sides. One side's in charge right now. The things that are happening are the fault of one side. Your both sides shit is really useless talking point here. So let's pick sides on who's at fault for different things. How could it possibly be a both sides issue when only one administration ever did universal tariffs and lie about who was going to pay those tariffs and inflate the cost of goods? It's one side of the aisle did that.
We never saw any news of that. We did have tariffs on other products for those first 6 months or so. These served as leverage, and when we were able to finally get deals with a lot of these countries that produce those types of product, the Ecuadors of the world, Indonesia, Vietnam, and others, those who make coffee. Well, once we had those deals in place, we were able to jettison those tariffs again.
We didn't get better deals. Where did we get better? Somebody name a country where we have improved our trade deal. I have no idea what he's talking about. You put tariffs on coffee, and you know what happens when you put tariffs on coffee? They pass that cost along to the consumer, and that's bad in the short term. But you know what else happens? Anybody else notice that your price of coffee went up and it came down, but it didn't go back to where it was? Anybody else notice that? Tony Tigris is citing 2,000 mules. That's awesome, dude. Cite the Onion for the rest of your sources. It's the most debunked piece of propaganda ever in existence. And Tony's like, I still believe it, damn it. It's still real to me.
We're trying to have tariffs applied to reshore, to protect American production, and where we don't need to have a tariff, you don't need to have it. But our sense is we have a giant trade deficit, we have a lot of offshoring, so we do need substantial tariffs applied in a smart way.
One thing to clear up again with Jameson Greer, it is 100% okay to have a trade deficit. A trade deficit is not a negative. It can be good, it can be bad. It depends on how your trade deficit is shaped. Secondly, he talked about reshoring. We're not reshoring anything. We're not reshoring manufacturing. None of that has happened. So the tariffs didn't work to reshore manufacturing. Prices went up. What'd we get out of it? Nothing. Just more expensive prices, and now Americans are going to have to pay for it. No reason. Get it all out, Mince. Just get it all out, bud. You're a grown adult screaming into the void at somebody on the internet. Get them all out, and then could you join us for this discussion? Instead of being a fucking lunatic. All right. Marco Rubio testified in front of the Senate today, and I'm showing this because Marco Rubio is probably the only person in this administration that answers questions. And so when Marco Rubio is in front of the Senate, I actually think it's worth listening to. He does seem to be the only adult in the Trump administration, which is saying a lot for this administration. There's one person in the whole administration that acts like an adult. Like Marco Rubio is the saving grace of the Republican Party, and then he still has shitty policy. So it kind of sucks. But this is the one person that ever answers questions. So I want to start with Senator Van Hollen about our current state of foreign policy, which I think the kindest interpretation of our foreign policy would be a clusterfuck. I think that's about as kind as you could be.
First public hearing since President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu launched an illegal war against Iran. Netanyahu said he's been waiting 40 years to do this. Turns out he finally found a president who was both stupid and reckless enough to join him. The war has killed 14 American service members, wounded hundreds more, and killed thousands of civilians. It's driving up the price of gas, food, and much more. Trump obviously doesn't care. He called high gas prices peanuts and said, I don't...
In all fairness, he might think cars run on peanuts. He's that dumb. Just a reminder, we are crowdfunded. Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, Super Chats, and TikTok, if that's the way to help us accomplish our fundraising goals each and every day. We are totally crowdfunded. We get almost no ad revenue from YouTube, none from Twitch, and we don't take sponsors. So if you could help us out by chipping in $1 or $2, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Think about Americans' financial situation. That's from the President of the United States. And all for what? The President told us 91 days ago that we had, quote, won the war in Iran. Last year, he told the country Iran's key enrichment facilities had been completely and totally obliterated. Was that false? Let's face it, Mr. Secretary, the Trump foreign policy has become a dumpster fire. This is the same president who's...
That's a pretty kind way to put absolute catastrophe. I think that's nice.
More interested in flattering Vladimir Putin than in protecting Ukrainian sovereignty. The president who lifted restrictions on the transfer of sophisticated U.S. chips to China, but came back from his trip there with nothing but ballroom envy. He tweeted about that the other day. This is the president who brought on Elon Musk to take a...
Not a lot of ballroom when you wear a diaper and a girdle. A lot of envy there.
...to AID, which has enabled the current Ebola outbreak in the DRC. We've also witnessed corrupt crypto deals with the UAE royal family that have enriched the Trump family at the expense of our national security. We've seen an administration engage in extrajudicial killings in the Caribbean, hijack Venezuelan oil, threaten to invade Greenland, and weaken the NATO alliance. Here at home, a Reagan-appointed judge said that you and former Secretary Noem abused your powers when you locked up and still
That really gives specific imagery to the phrase shitballs. Oh.
seek to deport students for protesting the destruction of Gaza. The Reagan-appointed judge said you did that, quote, primarily on account of their First Amendment-protected political speech. Speaking of Gaza, the so-called Board of Peace seems to have run around. Meanwhile, while Senator Rubio once proclaimed that the U.S. must, quote, work to ensure that refugees who flee war, torture, and persecution are provided safe environments to live and thrive in. Now, as Secretary of State in this administration, you have capped refugees at a record low of 17,500, and white South Africans, Afrikaners, have comprised roughly 99% of those slots, Mr. Secretary.
What? Why? 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 I don't have any problem with Afrikaners coming here. I really don't care. Why are those like the only people we want to come here? What do white South Africans offer to us that people from other countries don't? Sorry, besides being white. Yeah, we know why, right? Honestly, could you guys, Tony, can you stop talking about 2,000 mules for a second and tell us what benefit we're getting from white South African farmers? Apartheid? Oh, gotcha. They want to escape. Yeah, lots of people want to escape. That's the point. How come we're just bringing in people from South Africa that are white? Anything from you guys? No? Okay. If you think of something, let me know. Roly Poly Bolo says the largest U.S. military hospital overseas, which is in Germany, suspended their labor and delivery services to focus on U.S. casualties from the Iran war. The hospital is overrun with casualties. Did not hear that. That's crazy. Ty said, in the words of President DJT, Kafefi. Don't worry. They'll all come back as soon as I don't ask them a question. No, Tony, you have to answer my question or you're banned for today. Tony, I need you to tell me why or what they provide to us, what white South African farmers provide that other immigrants don't. If you don't answer only about white South African farmers, or you can say, I don't know, because I'm not that bright, we'll accept that answer as well. If you're going to talk, you got to talk. You can hide, and I can't do anything. But if you're going to come out here, you're going to talk, then we're going to ask you to talk about what we're talking about, please.
A race-based refugee system. At the same time, the president's preventing Cuban political refugees from entering the United States, even as you've imposed a near oil blockade on that repressive regime. The stated goal is to change the government there, but the only real change is humanitarian crisis inflicted on millions of people, not members of the regime.
All right, we'll give Marco Rubio some chance to respond back. But mods, real quick, can you, I believe William Talente is citing an insurrection in our chat. There is no freedom of speech here. This is an authoritarian dictatorship, William, and you will not cause an insurrection in this chat. Speech will be heavily policed by me just when I want to. And it's going to almost always be used against MAGA. You're the ones that are going to be silenced. And I will direct my criticisms at you. And I'm going to be really unfair, too. Like, the rules aren't going to apply both ways. They're only going to apply in one direction. I just want you to know that. So, William gets 5-minute mute. Mods, have at it with William Talente. 5-minute mute for insurrection. That's the penalty. But as a second-time offender, things can get worse, William. Be careful, my friend. Be careful. This is the dictatorship that you wanted. I'm giving it to you. I'm just getting a little sneak peek little sneak peek of the dystopian oligarchy that you guys are trying to slow walk us into. I want you to get used to it. All right. Here's Tim Kaine with Marco Rubio. First about, which is crazy that this is a forgotten story, but remember how not that long ago we were just indiscriminately blowing up boats, calling them narco terrorists? And we know at least some of them were not drug runners. I don't think they fit the description of narco terrorists. But remember when we were just murdering people in the open seas because we wanted to, and we don't even talk about it anymore because we've murdered so many people since then just because we wanted to? Well, I'm glad that Rubio's here, and Tim Kaine's going to ask him about that.
I want to ask you about Operation Southern Spear, the operation to strike boats in the Pacific and the Caribbean, that dozens of operations have now killed more than 200 people. Have you been involved as Secretary of State or National Security?
Yeah, we are still doing it. That's a good point. Thank you. Good reminder.
Advisor in discussion about the targeting criteria that are used to decide which boats we should strike?
No, but not because I've avoided it, but because those are largely legal decisions, right? So
but if you haven't been involved in discussion as the National Security Advisor, are you aware of what the targeting criteria are?
Yeah, I mean, they go through so every strike has a legal officer on the deck that has to make a determination about whether the call is legal or not. And this is done by the Department of War, the way it's been done in other theaters around the world.
Here's what I want to ask you about. So you're generally aware of the targeting criteria. I'm not allowed. I know what the targeting criteria are because of briefings I've had in this committee and the Armed Services Committee. It's all been in classified. And I'm not allowed to discuss the targeting criteria because they've only been shared and classified. But I don't think I'm prohibited from describing things that aren't targeting criteria. So I'll give you an obvious example. Everyone on the boat is right-handed. That's not a targeting criteria. It would be ridiculous.
Everyone on the boat is what?
Everybody on the boat is right-handed. That's not a targeting criteria.
Rubio was confused because he thought they said white-handed. And he's like, of course, you wouldn't bomb a boat of whites. But then he heard right, so he had to ask the question.
It's obviously not a targeting criteria. It would be improper for it to be a targeting criteria. Here's one that's not so obvious and that surprised me. There's evidence of narcotics on the boat. That is not a targeting criteria. I have been briefed on Southern Spear since the first operation on September 2 and most recently within the last couple of weeks, and I've asked again and again, have the targeting criteria changed? No, they have not. What are their criteria? Here's what they are. I can't describe it here. But they're...
So what is it? Why are we targeting those boats? This is an opportunity, MAGA, for you guys to speak up. Can you tell us why we're targeting these boats that are coming from Venezuela that are allegedly and sometimes provably filled with drugs? Let's take a little pause here. Could you guys tell me what it is? Just tell me what you think it is. You may not know, but tell me what you think it is. Based on what you've heard, what has Trump told you? What's Hegseth told you? What do all Republicans say? You know the answer. Don't be afraid to say it. Tony might be on mute. I don't know. I'm looking for answers from MAGA here. Just tell me again. I'm not asking you what the criteria was. It was classified. But what did they tell you it was? I don't know why it's classified, by the way. E-beggars? No, it wasn't for e-beggars. Drug runners. Drug runners. That's what I heard. That's what I heard Trump say. I heard it was because they had narcotics. And they were narco-terrorists bringing their drugs to this country as an act of terrorism to bring down our country. Now, of course, the boats they were on couldn't get here. Most of the drugs that we get from this country don't come from Venezuela. I wouldn't say that anywhere, and that's mostly cocoa. And I wouldn't say that's one of our biggest problems. And I said something like 5%. Yeah, the fentanyl's not what we were getting, though. They weren't even claiming that those boats were taking fentanyl. They were saying it was cocaine. And we only get a small percentage of our cocaine that runs through Venezuela. It doesn't even originate in Venezuela. It just comes out of Venezuela, and they run it. So seems like that's what we were all told, right? That it was about drugs. But then when he goes in and he reads the reports, there's no mention of that being why they were targeted. Did TikTok go down? Oh, not yet? Okay. Might, though. So why aren't they mentioning the reason that they were taking out these boats was the exact reason they keep saying in the media.
The presence of narcotics on the boat has never been a targeting.
I highly doubt your drug knowledge is very high. What do you mean drug knowledge? You can go look at a CBP, Customs and Border Patrol, and they'll tell you percentage of drugs coming from like where they originate. And that's based on seizures, obviously. I'm getting that information directly from the government, that it's like 5% comes from Venezuela. And it's almost all cocaine. So 5% of our cocaine comes from cocoa, I guess. Yeah, we're probably going to take it down on TikTok. Do you have a different set of data there? That's what I've been told. That's what I've seen.
Criteria. Would you have any ability to explain? And the administration could have picked that as a targeting criteria. They chose items that were targets, that authorized the use of the U.S. military to sink boats and kill people. But they have not used the presence of narcotics on the boat as one of the targets.
Buster, okay, so you'd say not directly running drugs in the United States. They drop it off in many locations and then move around the world. That's true. That is true. That's why they weren't coming directly into the United States. I agree with you on that. They're taking that into account, though, in the numbers that they have. But once again, Buster, that's the question. I appreciate you. I agree with you. Look at this. We can find common ground. Now, can we both agree that our government has been telling us that the reason that they're blowing up these boats is because they're narco-terrorists and because they had drugs on them? Are we going to pretend that that's not what Hegseth said? Are we going to pretend that's not what Trump said? Are we going to pretend that's not what every member of Republican Congress said? Why is it in the reports that that's not why they're being targeted? Because you're not allowed to target them for that. That's not a reason that you can target these boats. That's why they're not saying it. And the reason none of this stuff is public is because they realize that once it becomes public, it's a huge fucking problem for them. Right now, you have a bunch of cucks called Republicans that will shield Donald Trump from anything at all. Doesn't matter how illegal it is. But as soon as it gets out in the press, they're fucked. So they won't declassify it. It will be too embarrassing for them. That's why Tim Kaine's asking this question right now. He has to be very careful in how he asks this question because he can't give away classified information. But now it's out there. What you guys are telling us about why you're blowing up these boats isn't reflected in why you're saying they're being targeted. And the reason that you're not saying that's why they're targeted is because you would have to change the rules, because having drugs or narcotics on your boat is not a reason to be targeted for a military strike. It's just one more example of them obviously lying to you. Now, you might think they have a good reason to lie, but they are lying. Can we agree on that? Fart stimulator, whatever your name was. What's your name? Something with fart. Dusty farts or whatever. Can we agree on that? That they lied? That they're currently lying to us? You can agree. We don't have to agree on whether or not you care, because we know you don't. But can we agree on that? If the drug has been labeled poison? No, you're wrong. You're just wrong about that. And has the drug been relabeled as poison? Have we reclassified fentanyl from what is it? Whatever it's. Tier 1 narcotic to some other designation as a poison? You're just making shit up now, Buster. But can you answer that question? Would you agree with me that they said that the reason they targeted these boats was narcotics? Try it. I've agreed with you. You got to try this one time. I need you to agree with me on that.
Targeting criteria.
Schedule
and I would
one.
suggest
Thank you.
to my colleagues, if you go look at the individual files of all the strikes, and I've looked at the first 46, they are consistent with what I've just said about something that's not on the list of
Okay, thank you, Buster. Appreciate that.
targeting.
Now, can we also agree that since it is classified, that any other claims that you're making are just shit you're making up? Because that seems to be where we're at. Like, we don't know why those boats are being targeted. So anything you're saying now is just you making something up and guessing, right? Can we agree on that? That you're not going to be able to find a source for anything you say, and perhaps you shouldn't be speaking so definitively on this because we don't actually know the reason, because the reason they're telling us publicly is a lie. Is that not a problem for any of you Republicans? For you specifically, Buster, is that not a problem for you? That doesn't bother you? That you know that they're lying? That would bother me.
Criteria. Why would the administration not include the presence of narcotics on the boat as a targeting criteria in Operation Southern Spear.
As you just outlined, I can't discuss the specifics of the targeting criteria, but I can tell you the one thing that is obvious is that the targeting criteria is not single source. In essence, there are multiple checks.
There are three elements to the targeting criteria.
Right, and all of it informed and infused by intelligence collection. In essence, they have to have true links. I can tell you they do walk away from strikes. There are multiple times that I've been aware. I'm not aware of every strike because it's not reported on a regular basis, it's delegated. Yeah. But there have been strikes that they've walked away from because it doesn't meet the criteria or because there's doubt.
I'm not saying that the strikes that I've reviewed don't meet the targeting criteria, but I'm saying how odd it is, especially since the administration always announced this is against narco traffickers. We've attacked narco traffickers. How odd it is that the presence of narcotics on a boat is not one of the targeting criteria. And I would encourage my colleagues, get the same briefing I've gotten.
So what is it? Because even Tim Kaine saying, I'm not saying that the targeting criteria was not met. So what is the targeting criteria? I'm lost on this one. This is a good time to hold the chat. Does anybody have any experiences? I tried to look it up. The targeting criteria for these specific instances is not public. Any ideas? Has to be a boat. He didn't admit they were justified. God damn, it's crazy. What he said is, I'm not saying that the criteria wasn't met. He's not saying that it was met or wasn't met. It also doesn't mean that he agrees with the criteria. What he's saying is, whatever the criteria is, it's not about narcotics. Maybe boat specs. You think that like just the type of boat specs would be enough? Illegal aliens, my friend. They are in the middle of the ocean, thousands of miles, hundreds of miles away from our border. But they do not have the ability to even get anywhere near our borders. How in the world could you be an illegal alien in international water? Illegal to who? You're in international water. Anybody else? Yeah, I have no idea. Why are they lying about it?
Look at the strike files. You'll be as surprised as I am. Here's the second question.
All right. So good question. We're not going to get an answer to. Something to think about, though. What is the justification for murdering people in boats? Now Tim Kaine moves on to the legal opinion regarding our invasion of Iran. One thing that's interesting is, once again, this administration has provided their justification for going to Iran, but what they won't provide is the Office of Legal Counsel's legal justification. So for every military strike, there is an Office of Legal Counsel's legal justification. And that is provided to Congress as part of checks and balances to make sure that you really do have a legal argument for conducting military strikes. And again, this in Iran. For some reason, that's not being released to members of Congress. So this administration is just saying Congress doesn't get oversight on this.
The administration's Operation Southern Spear, we could agree with it or not, but the administration presented a legal opinion from the DOJ that we could review. Absolute resolve, the effort against Maduro. The administration presented a legal rationale that we could review. Now, we could review both in classified. They've not been made public. We're 92 days into a war against Iran, and the administration will not let Congress look at the OLC legal opinion justifying the war. Intel committee members, SFRC members, Armed Services Committee members, rank and file members, the administration will not make it available to us. Now, you can imagine, A, we're the Oversight Committee. B, you're here asking for a budget, and in the Armed Services Committee, they're asking for $1.5 trillion, an increase of 40% over last year's budget, but won't let us see the legal opinion. And Mr. Secretary, you know what kind of thinking we do. If you've showed us the legal rationale for 2 wars, and you won't show us the legal rationale for the third, is there something in the rationale they don't want us to see? Is there a dissenting opinion that says it's not legal? Are there conditions like you can't strike civilian infrastructure like schools and bridges?
I have a theory. My theory is that the Office of Legal Counsel could not justify these attacks because there was no imminent threat. We could ask the chat again. Could you tell us, Republicans, what the imminent threat to America was from Iran? There has to be an imminent threat. What was it? I think that's why we don't have it. I bet the Office of Legal Counsel either said there was no legal justification or it was split. There were dissenting views saying this is not legal. That's my guess. But we have to guess again because this administration doesn't do transparency. They don't do transparency because MAGA doesn't demand transparency from them. They just don't care. It's just like, we just want Donald to do whatever he wants. He deserves it. It's been so good for this country. He's so important to us that we can't have oversight. Oversight is actually hatred. Yeah, okay theory. Yeah, what's a better theory? I think that's the best theory. Why would they show it for the strikes or for Venezuela and the original attacks on Iran's infrastructure, but then not this one? Why not tell us the legal premise for going to war, especially with the history of our government, history of Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan? We're not exactly great at this. Shouldn't we have some transparency there? Shouldn't the people with checks and balances over the executive branch, Congress, shouldn't they be given the legal justification? Are we just like saying fuck the Constitution at this point? Fuck checks and balances. Donald Trump's more important than that too. The threat was the leader who was 86 some years old with late stage terminal cancer. It makes no sense for U.S. or Israel. Therefore, my theory is oil. Just my guess. Yeah. Could be oil. I think it's, I don't even think it's really oil, if we're being honest. I just think it's Israel wants us to bomb the fuck out of them. There's like rumors coming out now from Iran, unconfirmed. So we're not going to cover them, but there's rumors coming out that Iran plans to show off that they have acquired a nuclear weapon from some other country. So that could potentially be China or Russia. Maybe they stole one from Israel. I don't know. But now there's rumors of that coming out. Israel has always been afraid that Iran will have the type of firepower that Israel has. That's always been their worry. So I think that's why we're in this war.
Are there factual assertions like the war will be over in 2 days?
I doubt that too, Lifeline. I don't know if I believe that out of Iran either. That's just the rumor.
Or Iran will never close the Straits of Hormuz. By not sharing the legal opinion with the Article 1 Oversight Branch, you give us the opinion that there's something in there you don't want us to see. Could you use your influence as the president's chief national security advisor, Secretary of State, NSA, to get the administration to share the Iran war legal opinion with Congress?
Rubio's going to give his answer. It's a fair answer, honestly. He's able to deflect blame, but rightfully so. This isn't really on him, but I'm glad that he says he's going to take this back. And you can hear here from Rubio, he's kind of acknowledging that this actually is a problem. we do have an issue here. Asta Sophia, wow. Thank you. Asta Sophia, you even leave a message there? Let's talk about single-payer healthcare and the Nordic countries and how poorly they're doing. Our friend Asta Sophia lives in Iceland. Lives in a place where they take care of their residents. A lot of their bills are just built into their taxes, like healthcare. I know Asta Sophia currently is on I think a couple-week vacation because that's guaranteed, I believe, in Iceland. And with all that socialism, all that communism, Asta Sophia was able from across the pond to send $200 in a donation. So perhaps socialism works. Perhaps it works. And big W in the chat for our best friend from Iceland, Asta Sophia. You're always very generous. That makes my heart smile, and we love you, and I hope you enjoy your vacation. Hopefully we're not doling that for you. But W, Asta Sophia. W, single-payer healthcare. W, guaranteed paid time off. All of those things. All right, here's Rubio's answer.
Well, look, first of all, obviously the Department of State does not develop the legal opinion. That's the Office of Legal Counsel.
You're the chief national.
So I think what you're asking is why haven't the Office of Legal Counsel provided it? They don't work for the National Security Council. They don't work for me.
Will you use your influence as
I will certainly inquire as to why. Here's what I'll do. I can certainly inquire as to why it has not been available. I don't think there's a reason why. I am not aware that. In fact, my understanding is they have provided documentation to the committee and
not the opinion.
Thank you, Tanya.
part of the war.
Not the opinion.
Well, that's
and,
different.
And you wouldn't accept that.
All right, well, let me take
sitting
that
on
back
this
and ask
side
the
of
Office of
dais.
Legal Counsel. But it's certainly, they provided the legal rationale for the strike. You're asking for the actual written opinion the way
Which,
it was
which
in
they
the other.
provided us
All
in
right,
Southern Spear and absolute resolve.
I'll
Thanks,
take
Mr.
that
Chair.
back.
All right. Fair answer. That's why I like when Rubio testifies. I don't like what he says. I don't like this administration, but he's the only person that ever gives us any answers. We have an Ebola outbreak all across the world, which was easily predicted during the Doge cuts. That if we, I mean, they literally said if you cut all of this funding to USAID, specifically in disease mitigation, you are going to have outbreaks, and those outbreaks will spread. Not only because people temporarily were left without resources, as then China came in and filled those vacuums. Some of the UN countries came in and European countries came in and filled that vacuum. But you have a delay, and also because it wasn't as predictable. And so now we've got an Ebola outbreak, which was exactly what they predicted would happen if you cut USAID funding. And I think Booker does a good job holding Rubio's feet to the fire here. Whatever you think about USAID funding, we now have an Ebola outbreak. It reaches here. These things will continue to reach here. This happens every fucking time. There's a reason that we had USAID. Yes, there was some fraud. Almost everything, though, that Doge flagged as fraud was just stuff they didn't like. Not even fraud. It was like congressionally appropriated funds. Most of it had been spent. Doge saved us absolutely dick. It was like a few $1 billion when they said $2 trillion. They made all of our information available. Russia got access to the Social Security Administration. People working for Doge were just like taking government data home on thumb drives. It was a colossal theft of our public property, and you guys don't give a shit about that. You also probably don't care about Ebola because, once again, if it makes Donald Trump look bad, then fuck it. It's all good.
The United States has.
Oh, sorry. And Nomad said to knock out the rest of the gift goal. Thank you, Nomad girl. MC Martinez says go Spurs plus Antifa dues. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, guys. I'm going to turn off gift goals. And Matt, you're free to keep sending those super chats. We love that. But here's Cory Booker.
Pulled back from a lot of its investments in those areas. Now with the crisis with Ebola, we see that the challenges that have been brought about as a result of our surveillance, early detection.
Sorry. Also, Big W Nomad Gal. That was a $77 donation. I'm sorry, I got distracted. Nomad Gal, Big W in the chat there. We love you. You're also so generous all the time. So thank you.
And the like. So I'm just very concerned about what the administration's strategy is, because we're clearly seeing here that what goes on in the continent of Africa directly affects our public health as well.
Well, first of all, I don't agree with that assessment. I mean, first of all, it's not about cutting back. The response here is not just how much money you spend, it's what results you're going to get. Now, let's talk about Ebola for a second. Ebola, the outbreak in Ebola was in a war-torn, isolated, rural area in the DRC. That's where that began. Since that time, our response has been very quick, very rapid.
Well, so you're saying you did not cut early detection, Pierce. I'm not talking
I'm saying that whatever you're pointing
I want you to hear this answer, because again, Rubio is kind of an adult and he tries to spin, but he also understands, like, I don't know. I think he has some respect as a former senator to not lie here. I just want you to hear him out and recognize that at the end of this, he's going to admit that they did cut the funding. It did cause delays, and we have an Ebola outbreak.
Was the cut is not the reason why there was an Ebola outbreak.
I'm not connecting the two. I'm simply saying.
Well, you are connecting them. You said that our cuts.
Senator Rubio, I'm not trying to get in an argument with you. I would really like to actually have my questions answered. So very quickly, we cut early detection when it comes to infectious diseases on the continent. Factually, this is not an opinion. We made those cuts. We cut early warning systems on the continent.
It had nothing to do with the Ebola outbreak.
So I don't need to tell you, Secretary Rubio, that we're living in a place where an infectious disease crisis anywhere is a threat to public health everywhere. The United States has made major reductions in these areas that have put us more at risk. If you're talking about this clearly Ebola crisis, there's other things and other cuts we've made, and you see it factually. Even our own State Department personnel that I've talked to are saying we're less prepared for a global outbreak than we were before. And my worry is, specifically in a budget hearing, is this budget makes even deeper cuts into the kind of things that could prevent.
This is just like on brand for Trump. Like Trump did this with in his first presidency when he cut the outbreak team, that specifically ones that would be studying things like COVID and the emergency, like I think it was like the outbreak preparedness team. I don't remember exactly what it was called. He just got rid of them. Why? Because he hated Obama, so he had to get rid of everybody. Donald Trump always does this. He comes in and he just like fires everybody and then thinks things are going to run smoothly, and then they never run smoothly. And then whoever's the president next is going to have to clean up this mess. Every time a Republican leaves office, it's just like, God damn, we got to clean up a lot of messes, because they come in and they want to justify their massive tax cuts and handouts for billionaires. So then they just go cut all this spending, and then it comes back and fucks us. And then Democrats have to fix it. And then Republicans are back like, they spend too much, and they come fuck it up. And every time we fix it, it costs like double what it would have cost if we would have just kept the funding consistent. Anybody knows, like, what's cheaper, hiring new people or keeping current employees? A lot of times when I ran a call center, we did some analysis one time. When I first took over, we did an analysis on what it was costing us, because we had crazy like turnover. It was like 70 or 80% turnover. It was an insane number. And so we sat down and we started talking about like how to avoid that turnover, because then you have training classes, and during those training classes, which are like 2 weeks, you're not getting anything out of the people that are working there because they have to get on board. Then once they're on the floor, you've got a week or two where they need to be trained, and you got to take people off the phones to make sure that they're trained. And so we just realized that if we just kept paying people more, if they were there longer, if they got a job offer, they could negotiate with us, and we would pay that job offer. And as long as it made fiscal sense, we would continue it. But that's not how Republicans think about it. Every time they get into office, they're like, we have to break everything, always. And then they break it, and it fucks us, and it costs us more in the end.
The next outbreak, or as we've seen with unfortunately with COVID, have us more prepared.
Yeah, I don't agree with that assessment. I don't know who told you that at the State Department.
So let's move on. My time is limited.
I know, but that's an important question. I don't want to eat up your time, but I need to answer that, because I just don't agree with that.
Mr. Secretary, you can't even agree on the facts.
Because that's not accurate. I mean, again, you look at what we've entered into.
It's not accurate that we cut early detection.
Because those have all been repurposed in different arrangements that we now have with these countries. As an example,
I would like, for the record, because we're not going to cover it in my short time, if you're telling me we are as prepared or more prepared before the Trump administration came in, I'd like to see the facts.
I think when these reforms are finalized, which we're on the verge of doing, we're actually going to be better prepared.
Boom. There's the answer. Let's go back one more time. What is the answer here?
In my short time, if you're telling me we are as prepared or more prepared before the Trump administration came in, I'd like to see the facts.
I think when these reforms are finalized, which we're on the verge of doing, we're actually going to be better prepared.
We will be better prepared. We haven't finalized any of this yet. So you weren't prepared. You haven't even finalized preparation for an outbreak that's happening right now. Judith said, UK have free health care. Private care is available if you want to pay, usually surgery. Not everything's available. I work for the NHS, 7 weeks paid annual leave and full sick pay for 6 months. Half pay next 6 months, then have to rely on government. Heaven forbid we take care of our people in this country. It's the richest country on earth. We could either take care of the people, or we could just keep giving handouts to billionaires. But that's the answer. We're a year and a half in, and they still don't even have a replacement for all the shit that they cut yet. They're still not ready for that. They just don't care. They care just about rich people. It's so fucking obvious. I don't know how so many people have become convinced that they should side with a party who every time they get into power, just like, let's give rich people more money. Let's do that, and let's make sure we take it from poor people. I like that. That's what I voted for. All right. Then on to the debacle in Iran. We've all read the proposed deal from the Trump administration. It's not even as good as the agreement that he dropped out of. That's how much leverage Iran has. It's not even better than the deal that Obama negotiated. So we're getting a worse deal. So Trump withdraws from this deal. It obviously backfires. And now Iran's like, maybe we're not even going to negotiate with you anymore. Sorry. We seem to have a lot of leverage here.
The Strait of Hormuz was open before this unjustified war. We're now scrambling to try to find a way to get it back opened again. Not only is it causing economic havoc to our country and to residents
Good luck, Mike.
all around this nation, families trying to make ends meet, but you see on top of that, the Iranians finding ways to leverage that, as we allowed them to do with the Chinese for tens of billions of dollars. And so my point is, before we even get to a nuclear negotiation, this regime is getting money to rebuild, purchase more drones, cause more havoc. And this is before we're even trying to get back to.
But I apologize. I don't understand how they're getting this. What revenue are you referring to?
Well, there's two sources of revenue we're seeing. One is the revenue from the Chinese, that's factually documented. And number two, the revenue that you're proposing that they should receive by releasing all of their highly enriched uranium, as well as in making a commitment about their enrichment capacities.
Yeah.
Hold on. And that was the exact deal that you guys vilified, that the president and you vilified President Obama from having.
Yeah. No,
So
I don't
here we
think those
have
are
a
not the
worse
same.
situation
Those are not the same
where our
place.
adversary and our enemy, who's causing havoc in the region, who is funding proxies and terrorists, has discovered, thanks to you all, the power of shutting down the Strait of Hormuz.
No, they didn't
which
discover.
is
They
all-
knew that a long time ago, and they've done it before.
Clearly, we all knew that a long time ago. That's why this
And they intended to do this at
ill-conceived
some point
war
in the
should have
future
never
as well.
happened.
Yeah,
but have made our adversary in a stronger negotiating position. We are the strongest nation on the planet Earth, and we're in a stalemate with Iran. And now we're begging to get back into a deal that you all
We're not
trashed
begging.
in the first place.
There's no one begging. I don't.
We're not begging? What are we doing? How many times have we said there's a deal? How many times has the president said a deal is done? It's the only part he cares about, though. Oh, don't make me look like a pussy. We're not begging. Okay, well, you maybe beg then. If you're not begging, perhaps you should. Perhaps you should call Iran and be like, hey, look, our bad. Can we please just get this done? Can we come to an agreement? Iran obviously has the leverage here. It's so crazy that Republicans still... If we had the leverage, we would use the leverage and the leverage would fucking work. That's how leverage fucking works. You ever used leverage? Like scientifically? If you have leverage and you're trying... Let's say like... You've seen people move big rocks. You like get a stick under the rock, right? And the stick is up in the air and you push the stick down. You use your leverage and that lifts the other end of the stick. Well, if you push down and the stick doesn't go down and the rock doesn't come up, then you don't have any fucking leverage, do you? So if Iran isn't budging on anything, then do we have any fucking leverage? No, we just have stuff we're calling leverage. Leverage is a real thing. Leverage is real pressure that causes a response. We don't have leverage. We're just like, we have a list of shit we're calling leverage. Okay. Is it working? No. Then you don't have leverage.
Clearly, this is a
Senator
shame.
Senator Booker, your time's up.
But
Senator
can I just-
Rubio, since he's
I do
gone
want to
over,
address
you
some
can
of these points
respond.
because they go to the heart of the matter. No one's begging for anything here. The Iranians might be begging because their economy's losing hundreds of millions of dollars a day. That they are losing. Understand, Iran had street protests going on.
Okay. They're losing hundreds of millions of dollars a day. What are we losing? We got to be up to about 80 billion now on the war. This is what it's cost American consumers so far, 52 billion. Out of how many days has it been? When was the start? Since February 28th? How much are we losing a day? 30 billion almost now just on gas. That's what each household in the U.S. has paid $223 just in gas since the start of this war. Yeah, we're losing too. Again, it's not leverage if they're not moving.
Before all of this started, all of those factors, economic factors in Iran, are far.
Somebody, Bud, you have to get muted. Bud, we're muting you for the shortest amount of time possible. I don't know how what the shortest amount of time for a mute is, mods, but mute Bud for that amount of time. And Bud, you got to go look at what billions and millions are. Bud says they're losing hundreds of billions a day. For sure, Bud. That's for sure what they're losing a day. That's how numbers work.
Worse today than they were 6 months ago when those protests were happening. They have hyperinflation. Their currency's completely devalued.
We also are having our currency devalued. It's not completely devalued. We are also experiencing inflation, not on the same scale as Iran, but it's a much smaller economy. And they're the ones that are being bombed right now. So yeah, like it is hurting them a little bit more. But obviously, again, why would you think that if you're going to take a regime that doesn't care about their people, why do you think that then starving their people to death will suddenly make them care about their people? Their people aren't going to blame them for that. Their people are going to blame you, and they're going to radicalize against the United States. It's so dumb. I don't know if it's arrogance or what it is, but like, how does that foreign policy make any fucking sense?
They're struggling to make payroll for their government workers. Iran is in a very serious situation. And if it was up to the political class there, and I understand everybody there is sort of radical in some way, but if it was up to the people that actually like go to elections and wear the suits and you see on TV, they'd probably make a deal tomorrow. It's the issue they're facing is that the supreme leader and the IRGC Corps are a little bit more immune from those pressures until they can be convinced.
Oh yeah, it's almost like you should have seen that coming.
Otherwise, and I think that's the direction that they're moving in, because the reality I don't know where you're getting this perception that Iran is stronger. Iran has no navy left. They've lost a substantial percentage of their defense industrial base. That Iran has lost a substantial percentage of their missile launchers, and their economy is far worse today, and I mean far worse today than it was 6 to 9 months ago. And they are.
I mean, you want to? I see what you're saying there. Yeah, yeah. Dollar index is at 99.29. Let's look at this. Let's look at 3 years. Let's look. How's our dollar doing? It's down, right? That's a 3-year chart there. You want to do percentages? Down about 5%. Not good. Is it catastrophic? No. Is it down? Yeah. This stuff's all happening to us. We just have a bigger economy. What if we just stopped hurting each other's economy, though, and stopped fighting a senseless war? Could we just do that instead? Like, we started this with, can you tell us the justification of this war? And they're like, no, we can't do that. And now we're down to who's winning this stupid war. And we can't even decide who's winning this stupid war. So we don't know why we're in it. We don't know what we plan to accomplish. We don't know who's winning. But let's just keep paying for it and see what happens. That way Trump doesn't have to admit that he fucked up. All right. Then I got Senator Coons here. This is the last one for Rubio, and then we'll move on.
Is it not true that some of the challenges in our NATO relations have only come after President Trump threatened to seize territory from a trusted and reliable and contributing partner?
Fair. Yeah, I don't think that's fair.
I think he publicly said both.
I know, but I don't
use tariffs to coerce Denmark into giving up Greenland.
Yeah, but just to tell you, look, if you go back and study the history of it, NATO tensions and debates within U.S. or whether we should be in NATO. In the 1970s, it was the reverse. It was the administration trying to stay in NATO and Congress trying to get us out.
Yes.
I happened to see a speech. They were playing it after he passed away on C-SPAN.
That's a good point. None of that shit is true, because if it was, why are you sending them $300 billion to rebuild? Is that the number? I thought it was $30 billion. But yeah.
Jesse Jackson at the 1988 Democratic Convention calling for the United States to get out of NATO.
I was
these
there.
Debates over NATO, you were at there?
Was Joe Biden.
Is that the argument, though? The question was, is it not true that some of our challenges in our NATO relations have come only after Trump threatened to seize territory from a trusted and reliable partner? And his refute of that is, one time Jesse Jackson said, get out of NATO. Okay, but the question was, are some of our challenges currently, did some of those come after Trump threatened to seize territory from a trusted and reliable partner? And his answer, again, give it to you one more time.
Away on C-SPAN, Jesse Jackson at the 1988 Democratic Convention calling for the United States to get out of NATO.
And did he win? No. And did we get out of NATO? No. And did any of the Democrats vote to get us out of NATO? No. Did it ever happen? No. It's just a thing Jesse Jackson said in 1988. Trump did threaten our partners.
These debates over NATO, you were at there?
As was Joe Biden.
Oh.
Joe Biden didn't support that position then, and I don't support that position.
But my point is that these debates about NATO have been ongoing for a long time.
Yeah, but that's irrelevant. So good try by Rubio there. Good. Big talk, little man. You have no idea what Trump thinks. Okay. Anything else, Paul? Sorry, Paul has some big thoughts. Paul, what else? I don't know what Trump thinks. That's true. You don't either. We kind of have to guess. Mostly we have to guess because even when he does speak, it's like, what did none of that meant anything. Those words seem to be in the wrong order. Trump doesn't think. That's probably true. B87 said they're wanting to give them $300 billion in the new agreement, so it should balance out. Okay, that's what the new agreement is. Okay, that's what Iran's asking for, right? That's not what we're offering. I haven't seen that we offered that. Or is that just the total amount with like sanction relief? Do we even have 300 billion in seized assets? I don't think we do. That number can't. That has to include sanctions relief, right? I don't even know if there's 300 billion in seized assets. We offered, but yeah, but what is that number, B87? What is that number made up of? A rebuild fund? Is it just from us? Is that from Israel as well? It includes rebuilding reparations. It's not seized assets? Wait, but whoa. It's just cash? Fuck out of here. All right. Where is... Let's see. Does anybody know? I'm looking into it more roly-poly right now. 300 billion in proposed reparations is coming from the Gulf Arab states, that they would underwrite the fund, the International Investment Fund. American negotiating team deliberately avoided funding it directly. Instead, the U.S. would help facilitate. Oh, so it's just like creating a fund. And then it would be private investment, would include American companies. Oh, Jesus. Is this an oil deal? Is this a fucking oil deal? They'll allow American companies pursuing investment and joint venture deals with Iran. Jesus fucking Christ. Dick Cheney just got hard. I know Dick Cheney's been dead for a few years, and I don't know exactly how long it takes for a penis to completely deteriorate, but somewhere underground, wherever he's buried, he just got hard. That's crazy. Who raised it? Steve Witkoff brought that up. Nice. That's crazy. I guess Iran wants between 300 billion and $1 trillion. That's a fund. That's crazy. Did I miss anything there? Roly poly bolo. Is that the gist of it? Amy said it's a payoff. Yeah. Asta Sophia said dollar has weakened. I paid 128 kroner for $1 2 years ago, and now it's 120 kroner for $1. Yeah, I think they said it was 16. It's like 16 pesos to one US dollar now in Mexico. Last time I was there, it was 19. It might have been 18 and a half to one, somewhere around that, between 18 and 19. Did I get that BB87? Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. I didn't know that number had been negotiated. Or I floated. I'd seen the number out there, but I just assumed it was some sort of like, I thought they were coming up with that number from like sanctions relief. It's even worse now. We're just going to ask everybody else to pay reparations on behalf of the United States. All right. Let's see. I want to move on to this. Shawn Ryan had on Megyn Kelly, who is just, Megyn Kelly fucking sucks. I will say this. I do have respect for Shawn Ryan. Shawn Ryan has been unapologetic in his turn on this administration. He and I probably disagree on a ton of stuff. I know for a fact that we disagree on a ton of stuff. But he's been pretty unapologetic and pretty candid about his criticisms of this administration. Megyn Kelly is a fence sitter, and she can kiss my ass. But I liked a couple of these clips. I watched this whole thing. It's an all right interview. But I love seeing a conservative just say it how it is. It's nice to see every once in a while a conservative just acknowledge what we're all seeing. That this is a completely and totally corrupt administration that is doing absolutely nothing that they promised. Remember, MAGA, this is your guy, and this is Megyn Kelly, who's on your side too. So we're just going to let them speak.
Positivity coming out of this administration. It seems very self-serving. I have a list of shit printed I could go through, but what was the last one? He fucking made it so he had Todd Blanche do the dirty work so that him or anybody in his family could never be audited by the IRS. What the fuck is that shit? The drone company.
MAGA, just in case you're not aware, in that deal that Trump has struck with the IRS, which now is being reopened by the judge and will be investigated, for some reason, part of that deal was his family and himself and his companies could never be audited. Does that seem like anything other than corrupt to you? MAGA. Anybody that's MAGA here, do you have any explanation for that other than just like abject corruption? It's Trump's personal attorney that he put in charge of the Department of Justice, and without any sort of counterclaims or any defense at all. Their job is to defend the United States against lawsuits. They didn't even defend it. They just said, fuck it. And we'll write out this deal to give money to the victims, the criminals. And we'll just also loop in here a one-page sheet that says you can never investigate Trump for tax crimes ever again. There's no fucking way you guys are cool with that. Right? Are you just pretending that doesn't exist?
Mm-hmm. The drone company, the
$600 million or billion, I don't know, is it million or $1 billion loan that the Department of Defense gave out to John Jr.'s company that he joined like 3 months ago? How about that? Just the biggest loan ever given by the Department of Defense to the president's son. We cool with that too? It's not what the IRS agreement says. Want to read it, Chris? We'll pull it up. You tell me what it says then. Let's see. Let's see. Got to find the link for it. I'll find. Jen, can you find that actually while this is going?
$100 million jet from Qatar.
Yep.
What is it? The Executives Club. You know about that?
Yeah.
I think it's like $150,000 membership fee. That's just the Trump sons own a little private club. You can just go in there and hobnob with the Trumps. Obviously, it's the Executive Club. It's literally, they call it that because their dad is the executive branch. We're just going to pretend that's not corrupt.
That they started in D.C.
You don't hear about any of this shit.
Yeah.
Does this shit look like he's serving the fucking people? No. So you're going to serve that? Or are you going to speak out against it and let everybody know what the fuck is happening?
You think he'd be better off?
A lot of you are going to serve that. Megyn Kelly's going to serve that. See how she won't take a position here? She's such a fucking coward.
Fox News sure as fuck isn't reporting any of this shit.
None of it. No, there's no question that the corruption in the administration has been far beyond what
he sued the fucking government. He sued his own fucking government.
Yeah. Not happy, Shawn Ryan. And I will also say, I don't think Shawn Ryan's super bright. But I do like that. What about this? This is a good question. What is core MAGA? Somebody just said in the comments that like they don't know anybody in real life, any real life MAGA who still support this. I agree with that. I went to dinner last night, and one of my golf buddies and his wife showed up, and they were like former MAGA. Like he used to have like the first Trump administration, he had on like the MAGA shit. You never see it now. And every time we get together, he's like, what the fuck is this guy doing? I agree with that. And he couldn't have been more like dyed in the wool MAGA. I agree. I don't know. There's not a person in my life that I know that voted for Trump that still supports him really in any way. They might still support Republicans. They probably still will, but nobody's afraid to talk shit about him. I had a long conversation with a friend of mine the other day who never voted MAGA, but is definitely conservative and has just always hated Trump. But he was like, we were talking, he's like, who could we even run? Like, he's like, I'm looking through all these Republican candidates, like all the people that could run. He's like, none of them can run. None of them are worthy of a vote. He's like, I can't do Josh Hawley. He's like, I can't do Jim Jordan. I can't do. He told me that that JD Vance was just an empty suit, clearly bought and paid for. He's like, the only one I could even consider is Rubio, but even Rubio, like he's just looking past all this shit. He doesn't even want. He's not even cool with Rubio. So I agree with you. I don't know that there's that many MAGA out there in real life anymore.
There is, what's core MAGA now?
I have no idea.
I think I know. Trump has said from the beginning...
Pedophile supporting Israeli lobby? Well, I have no idea.
Need a different acronym. But Trump has said from the beginning that he defines what MAGA is. MAGA is what I say it is, he has said. And he's not wrong. It's his moniker. It's his campaign slogan. And all along, he's defined what is and is not MAGA. And he told me personally, MAGA will feel the way I want them to feel.
Boy, is that not the truest thing you've ever heard for our chat? MAGA will just feel exactly what I want them to feel. And here they are, feeling exactly what he wants them to feel.
I'll tell them how to feel about this, that, or the other thing, and they will. And he has been totally right on that. The problem for Trump now is that he has defined MAGA literally to those who agree with Mark Levin. If you don't agree with Mark Levin, you're not MAGA, which
she hates Mark Levin. I don't agree with that assessment. I think she just really hates Mark Levin because Mark Levin keeps saying that she's stupid and she keeps saying that he has a tiny dick, which is kind of funny. But I don't think anybody is listening to Mark Levin. He just agrees with Trump sometimes, so Trump amplifies him.
Means you must be a neocon whose main issue is what's in the best interest of Israel. And that defines MAGA down to nothing. It's a nub. So what's that? It's not...
Take that, nubs.
It's not large. It's not important. It's not...
I feel like that was also a shot at Mark Levin's dick, to be honest. Doesn't it feel like she kind of smiles? I feel like she might be just making fun of his dick again.
So what's that? It's not large. It's not important. It's not cool. It's not appealing to young people. It has no future. Much like Mark Levin himself, it's old, it's angry, and it's dying. And so those are the people who, like, the die-hard loyalists who will just feel the way Trump wants them to feel are the ones who are harassing you for saying what you think about Thomas Massie. They're entitled to their opinion, but they do not represent the Republican Party. They don't represent the right, and they definitely don't represent the future.
She's got a strong-ass chin. You need a strong-ass chin if you're going to marry a conservative man sometimes. You know what I mean? All right. Where was then there was this one. How about the shots at Israel? Like, it's you can't even defend Israel anymore. Shawn Ryan's out on Israel. This is a guy who everybody just thought was like a CIA shill. And he consistently has like deep staters on his program all the time. A lot less lately. I do feel like he thinks he got duped. And it's probably harder for him to get the same guests on now because of his criticism about Israel.
Party is anymore.
Yeah,
nobody stands up for anything.
It's unclear.
Not inside. All these people I thought were Republicans on the outside are standing up against it, but nobody on the inside is, except the people that are resigning and Massie.
Yeah.
But I mean,
literally the entire Republican elected, everybody in elected office as a Republican is a bitch. Just some of those bitches are ready to quit, and some of them are like, we're just going to keep being cucky bitches. But some of them are like, I don't want to be this anymore. So they quit, but they still just go out like cowards.
And I mean, what all the Pete Hegseth fucking went down there to campaign against him. What is that shit? Did he forget he started a fucking war?
Yeah. That was so highly irregular.
What the fuck was that? Is that even legal?
It's legal, but it's...
Because as a military member, you can't be doing shit like that.
No, and we have never, like, in modern history, I think it's fair to say, I can't think of another example, have we deployed the Secretary of Defense, or now War, for a specifically political mission, right? Like, we've always tried not to do that because it's important that our military have the support of all parties, that they not be seen as a politicized group. And I think the Pentagon tried to justify it by saying, oh, he was going down there on multiple items. You know, it wasn't just to sink Massie. That's tough to swallow. And it's a...
No, they didn't. That's not what the Pentagon said. He stood in front of the camera and he goes, with a wink, I have to say, because my lawyers say that I have to say I'm here in my own personal capacity. And then he talked about his job as Secretary of Defense. It was just like a disclaimer at the beginning. They didn't even try and pretend it wasn't to get rid of Massie and that he wasn't there as the Secretary of Defense.
Like so much with the Trump presidency, it's a bridge we shouldn't have crossed. Like there are certain norms and protocols that are good, that are there for a reason, to maintain some...
Yeah, also laws. Things you're calling norms and protocols are mostly laws, though.
Faith in institutions. And you can make a very strong case that faith in the Department of War is at the top of the list.
Department of Defense. I'll correct that.
People need to believe that that's not a corrupt organization or one that only fights for one side of the aisle. And we need to keep the troops out from that kind of scrutiny too. And it starts at the top. So it was wrong. They should not have deployed him in the fight against Massey.
It's disgusting. I mean, it's just a shitty example for everybody in the military, too, to have the top guy going around and campaigning for people when literally nobody else in the military is allowed to do that.
Yeah. And, you know, how do they feel? I mean, like, I'll guarantee you the vast majority of the military, if you polled them about, like, whether they wanted Thomas Massey to be reelected, would either have no opinion, or you'd have leftists saying, well, I just want him out altogether because, you know, I'd rather have a Democrat in there. But the right...
I love how they dismiss leftists as if this isn't our entire argument, as if they're not now, for the first time, just acknowledging that we were right. And then they're like, but they only wanted him out because they don't like him. Yeah, for sure. For sure, that's what it is. I wouldn't consider myself a leftist, but it's so dismissive. They come to this conclusion 6 years late, I guess 10 years late, and then they're like, yeah, but they were right about everything they said. It's just but they were only right because they don't like Trump. Oh, okay.
The right wing of the military is going to be just as divided as those of us who are not in the military. So it's like, who are you speaking for? You know, it's not like something that has popular support within the group he represents.
So what does this all mean? I mean, I thought he was going to win. I thought for sure he was going to win. But then he didn't. And Israel bought it. They bought the election. So do we even vote anymore? What's the fucking point? Legitimately, what's the point?
Probably no point to vote for Republicans anymore. I agree with Shawn Ryan. I also want to say this before we move on too much. I just want to point out that journalists used to be tough. Barbara Walters is dead, but even dead Barbara Walters is tougher than any Republican out there. Because remember, before Donald Trump was operating a cult that was MAGA, everybody fucking hated that dude. And I just want to remind you that everybody fucking hated that dude. And they used to press him on shit because they weren't afraid of him coming after them. Donald Trump has always been a lunatic. Always. He's always been a shitty businessman. He's always been a liar. He's always blamed the press for everything. And I wanted to show this video from I think it's 1988. It might have been a little later than that. But this was Barbara Walters being tough on Donald Trump. And look, this is what happens. Like, just look how angry he gets and how he can't answer any questions. Everything she pressed him on here was absolutely factually correct. He did wind up declaring bankruptcy after this. The bankers stopped doing business with him after this. This is one of the most failed businessmen in American history who got saved by a reality TV show.
Well, the new book is entitled Surviving at the Top. There are many people who would say failing at the top.
I hope the general public understands how inherently dishonest the press in this country is.
Oh, yeah.
As a member of the press, let me try to clear up some of the things which you say are untrue. You write in your book, my bankers and I worked out a terrific deal that allows me to come out stronger than ever. I see the deal as a great victory, and eventually the rest of the world will too. Being on the verge of bankruptcy, being bailed out by the banks.
Well, you don't have to say on the
skating on thin ice and almost drowning.
I love that. You don't have to say it that way. See how he tried to change it? And she just put her hand up. Used to be a time when Donald Trump would respond to somebody putting their hand up. There was like some semblance of how to get along.
The verge of bankruptcy, being bailed out by the banks.
Well, you don't have to say on the
skating on thin ice and almost drowning. That's a businessman to be admired.
You say on the verge of bankruptcy, Barbara, and you talk on the verge, and you listen to what people are saying.
I talk to your bankers.
Well, that's fine. And what do they say? I mean, you know, depending on which banker you're talking to, what do they say?
Yeah, I got a lot of them, depending on which one. Some are going to say I'm on the verge of bankruptcy. Some are going to say I'm not because they don't have those loans. But depends on which ones you say. Yeah, the ones that gave you money for the casinos that you bankrupted, those banks.
I'm the only one people write about. I mean, they don't write about other people.
You have a little more debt than most people. You're something like $3 billion in debt.
You also have a little more assets than most people.
Okay. You have debts to pay back.
Right.
You have huge loans to pay back. You say the country is in a depression. What makes you think that you can pay back those loans? And further, what your bankers have told us is that the only way you even have a chance is by selling that property out there totally, the plaza.
Well, I don't know what the bankers have said. The plaza is a very valuable property. Everybody told me, oh, you paid too much, you paid too much. Now they're all saying what a great deal he made on the plaza.
No, they're not. Nobody ever said that was a great deal. And he declared he wasn't able to pay these loans back. Do you see how this works though with him? MAGA in here right now probably believes that he's dominating this interview. They probably believe that he came out on top. He didn't. He went bankrupt right after this.
You yourself said that you saw your children maybe once a week. You're having a lot of difficulties with your 12-year-old son, Donnie. You haven't talked to him since May. Do you believe in fidelity and...
How about that? You're a dad that's never around. Your own kid hasn't talked to you. This was in the fall. Hasn't talked to you since May. 12-year-old kid doesn't even talk to you.
marriage?
Yes, absolutely, I do.
In the current issue of Vanity Fair, the author Marie Brenner says that you read from Hitler's collected speeches, My New Order.
Oh, weird. I thought, now I must have been mistaken here because it's been my impression after every MAGA I've ever talked to that everybody used to love Donald Trump and they never accused him of being racist or a Nazi until he ran for president. That's what I was told. What's this? They were talking about his that he was reading Hitler's collected speeches, My New Order. Listen to his response, by the way. This isn't a good response.
In the current issue of Vanity Fair, the author Marie Brenner says that you read from Hitler's collected speeches, My New Order, and that these are speeches that you seem to admire. What's your reaction? Do you have this book?
A friend of mine sent me a book. A man who I think is Jewish, although I don't know.
If I got Hitler's speeches in the mail, I would just throw it away. You think it's some guy that he's not sure if he's Jewish sent him a book in the mail and then he just kept it by his bed? For sure. You guys chose the dumbest one. He's always been dumb too. Everybody saw it until it was politics, and politics just has a way of blinding people. Everybody hated that fucking guy. In 2008, my final report in my political science class, you could pick somebody that was like involved in politics. You just had to write a report. I wrote a report. It was my final project on the on the corruption and financial ruin of Donald Trump and how like he was being saved by reality TV. That was like the big story of the moment. That's what, even as like on The Apprentice, they weren't like, this guy's awesome. They were like, this guy's a fucking scumbag. He's such a fucking scumbag. And he's such a dickhead that we're going to make a reality TV show about him. And it wasn't about Trump being a good guy. Trump was the villain in that show. And they loved it because they're like, we didn't even have to like tell him to act. This is just who he is. He really is this fucking shitty. I'm over calling everyone a Nazi. Well, why did he have Hitler's speeches then? What would you do with a book of Hitler's speeches? I'd read it. I think Hitler had some good points. I think you're over the people that you vote for being called Nazis because they're Nazis. I think that's probably what's frustrating you. It's not fair that all of the Nazis keep getting called Nazis and they seem to only be Republicans. That doesn't seem fair to me. All right. I want to go to this store. What do we have? An hour and 15 minutes left? Yeah, I want to get to this. We're going to speed this up because it's Bernie Sanders. He's 364 years old tomorrow. Happy birthday, Bernie Sanders. But once again, just showing why he's the most electable person on earth. He has the best ideas of anybody in our Senate, and this still won't be taken seriously. But here's a bill that Bernie Sanders is introducing that would give us, the public, 50% ownership in the largest AI companies. Like all the big AI companies, we, as a collective, would own 50% of them. And he gives a very good reason for that, too. By the way, if you disagree with Bernie Sanders, you are pro-theft. If you agree with Bernie Sanders, you're anti-theft. I'm just going to set that statement at the beginning, and at the end, you can tell us whether you're pro or anti-theft.
Thanks very much for joining me.
Yeah, that's true. He's the opposite of electable. He's proven this. Yeah, but he should be the most. I say it should be the most electable. If it was on ideas, he would win. But just too many people are dumb, and they're like, socialism bad.
Probably don't need to tell you. that artificial intelligence will almost certainly be the most transformational technology in the history of the world. It will profoundly affect the lives of every man, woman, and child in our country and, in fact, throughout the world. It is already bringing significant changes to our economy, our democracy, our emotional well-being, our environment, and how we educate and raise our kids. There is also...
I love that. Oh my. You're more anti-Semitic than the average Republican as defined by Israeli Jews. Oh, well, tell them to go fuck themselves. How about that? If they think criticizing genocide is anti-Semitic, then they can go fuck themselves. Whoever is defining my criticism of Israel as anti-Semitic is a dumb motherfucker, and they can get fucked. How about that? Nobody gives a shit what people in Israel think about anti-Semitism being linked to anti-genocide. That's so stupid.
A very real fear that as AI becomes smarter than human beings, it could eventually function independent of human control with potentially catastrophic consequences. The question is not whether AI will change the world. It will. The question is who will own and control that future, who will benefit from it, and who will be hurt by it. Will AI be used?
He's going to make a good argument here, but MAGA, I'd ask you, why shouldn't we own 50% of AI? Why should OpenAI own 100% of their own company? All the investors, why should they own it? Why should they be able to steal from us? Why are you guys advocating for that? Why would you allow these companies to just steal all of our work without paying it, paying for the labor? Why not?
To make life better for working families. Will it help us eliminate poverty, extend life expectancies, and help us solve the climate crisis? Or will the future of humanity be determined by a handful of billionaires who have developed AI to become even richer and more powerful than they are? That is the fundamental choice before us. And let us be clear, AI was not created out of thin air. The foundation of AI is our collective human intelligence. Let me repeat that. The foundation of AI is our collective human intelligence. Our books, songs, artwork, journalism, computer code, scientific research, videos, conversations, images, and ideas spanning generations. As Sam Altman...
I don't think a lot of people have talked about it that way. Why do these people like Sam Altman, Elon Musk, Amazon, Apple, Oracle, why do they get to just have all of our knowledge and not pay for it? Why do they get to steal all of that and then monetize it? If AI is such a good tool, why are we all not profiting then? Everything you've ever put on the internet, every word you've said can be used to train AI. Why don't you get paid for that? Why can't they pay the taxes for it? I think the guys who thought of how to develop it and use it would beg to differ. Yeah, I would. I bet they would beg to differ. Fuck them. They don't get to steal all of the information. Why do they get to steal all of the knowledge? Of course they don't. Of course they would disagree. Of course they want all the money. Of course they think that them developing the product was more important and somehow harder work than the people who developed the knowledge. Of course they think that. Yeah, that's actually a really good example. Their present day Napster. Should Napster have just been able to go and take all these artists' work and give their music away for free just because it was on the internet? Hell no. Why is Napster illegal, but this isn't?
himself acknowledged. AI models were trained...
This is what Felice talked about to Crow and Arrow? I don't remember that.
...on our, quote, collective experience, knowledge, and learnings of humanity, end quote. The reality is that big tech oligarchs have fed this knowledge into their AI models without permission, acknowledgement, or compensation. In other words, the creative work of millions and hundreds of millions of people has been stolen by the wealthiest people in the world. The time has come to reclaim what...
The fact that you don't see the difference show that you don't know tech. I know the difference. One of them invented a technology to scrape the internet of all of the information that people spent hundreds of thousands of years developing And they created a scraper that could take all that and communicate with itself and regurgitate that and not pay the people who actually came up with all of that data. I don't think the person with the scraper and the program to then compile that is worth more than the people who used their own brains and their own livelihood and their own time and their own efforts. Why is the scraper and the software getting 100% of that? That doesn't make any sense. AI doesn't exist without our knowledge. Why did they just get it? This is the dumb, like the bird brain thinking of conservatives. Oh, we have tons of oil here. What if instead of sharing the profits for oil, we gave it to 6 people? What if just like 6 people made all the money? Yeah, it's under the ground that we collectively own, but why don't we give it away to a private company? Why do you guys always want to give everything away? It's ours. Boo-hoo. It's not even crying. It just makes sense. You wouldn't do this. What if somebody just came there like, hey, I'm taking half your paycheck. Why? I figured out a way to just get it. Well, I did all the work for that. Yeah, but I'm using it now. Okay. And they're like, boo-hoo. It's stupid. Like, you just don't understand. You don't understand labor. And why don't you value your own labor? Probably because you've never said anything smart. That's actually a good point. I just thought of myself. Maybe that's why MAGA, they regurgitate things anyways. They're used to that. They're used to being spoon-fed the information, so they don't feel like their knowledge is being stolen because they've never acquired their own. It's just a repeat of what somebody... Okay, that actually makes sense. Now I get why you guys are against it. You think that that's how knowledge exists, that it's just fed to you by a politician. That's the problem. On this side, progressives believe that we learn things, that we try new things, that we experiment with new things, that we create new things, whether it be art, whether it be science, whether it be theories, whether it be literature. We create those things, right? They're not just spoon-fed to them. You don't just type it into AI and then it spits out an art project. I get it now, actually. All right, we'll dumb it down a little bit. Other people came up with this knowledge. Not you guys, but other people did, and they should be paid for it. It shouldn't just all go to Sam Altman.
Was stolen from us. Since AI is built on the collective knowledge of humanity, the wealth it generates must benefit humanity, not just Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Larry Ellison, and other billionaires, or the venture capitalists and Wall Street firms who see AI as the next great wealth extracting machine. And that is why in the coming weeks, I will introduce the American AI Sovereign Wealth Fund Act. This legislation would give the public a direct ownership stake in the largest AI companies in America through a one-time...
So you thought that they would just give you AI for free? Nothing's free, son. Nobody's saying free. We're saying split the profits 50-50. This is the point. Like, this is probably why you need AI. You don't even understand what you're watching right here. You don't even understand what we're saying. Calling people son with this, saying something that stupid. You're going to call other people... You're going to son me? This video's been going for 3 minutes and 35 seconds. You haven't figured it out yet? That we're talking about a revenue split? Not free, just a revenue split? They can still charge whatever they want. That's fine. We just get half the revenue.
50% tax, not on profits, but on stock. It would do 2...
Wait. You're acting as if you're the personal heir to everyone who's ever written a book. No, they are acting like that. The AI companies are acting like they are the personal heir to anyone who's ever written anything. I'm not going to get money from this. This will go into the federal government, and the federal government will use it to pay for things. I'm not the personal heir. You're saying that Sam Altman and Elon Musk should be the personal heir, and everybody who invests in AI, that they should be able to get proceeds from the work of others. I'm not. I'm actually saying that we collectively as Americans, because it's not even like if you wrote a book, right? Like, everything I've ever put on the internet can be scraped. Any of my clips that go out can be scraped. That's whether, it doesn't matter how many views there are. That's my labor. And if that stuff is being plugged into an algorithm to train an algorithm, I should get paid for that. Why do they get to use my labor? Why do they get to use your labor? Again, I forget. You guys don't do labor. You just repost. I forget. Why should people who taught you stuff get their, why should AI get their labor? Because it's a capitalism. They're the rich ones. They should have it. You guys can't even figure out like this stuff.
Extremely critical things. First, it would give the American people a direct role in determining the future of this technology. No longer would the future of AI be dictated by a handful of big tech.
I love this. I'm stealing content. Yeah, guess what happens when I use other people's content? Guess what happens? YouTube takes the revenue from me and gives it to them. So if I don't follow the rules and do fair use here, because this isn't copyrighted content here, but if I don't significantly change it by adding my commentary, YouTube will take the money from me and give it to them. And if I use copyrighted content, YouTube takes that money and gives it to them. That's how copyrights work. I work in this industry. I can't just steal, I can't just bite other people's shit, or I have to pay for it. That's how this works.
While the rest of the world sits back and watches them do what they want. Secondly, it would guarantee that the trillions potentially created by AI are used to improve the lives of all of us, not simply to make the richest people on earth even richer. And I have to tell you, this is not an original idea. OpenAI has proposed creating a public wealth fund to give every citizen a stake in AI-driven economic growth. Anthropic has proposed national sovereign wealth funds with stakes in AI. Elon Musk has said direct federal payments are the best response to AI-driven unemployment. Over 100 sovereign wealth funds already exist worldwide. Norway used its oil wealth to create a $2 trillion public fund. Alaska created a sovereign wealth fund that has paid dividends directly to residents for decades. Every year, people in Alaska get a piece of the action from their oil revenue. Even President Trump has...
Why would MAGA not want this? Because Bernie Sanders is saying it. Honestly. You want the government to spend less? Here you go. You want to pay less taxes? Here you go. This would be money you don't have to pay in taxes. Here you go. No, not if Bernie says it, I'm not doing it. Bernie bad, socialism bad.
Proposed establishing a United States sovereign wealth fund. The billions, if not trillions, generated by this legislation would provide direct payments to the American people and help guarantee healthcare, education, and housing as human rights.
Listening to a man complain. He's not complaining. He's introducing a bill, you dumb fuck. And he doesn't have 3 mansions. He owns, I believe, 2 houses. None of them are mansions. They're very modest houses. He bought them, and the price of his houses has gone up substantially. This is what people in Congress do. He's not complaining. He's introducing a bill. You guys never know what you're looking at. It's remarkable how far out of your way you go to miss what the person is saying. That's Bernie. He has houses. Isn't it weird that you guys, every single day, if I show a clip of Bernie Sanders, like 12 people say the exact same thing, but you're not in a cult, right? You're not just like spoon-fed propaganda that you all repeat every fucking day. The same day. These guys just argue with the bill. But every day you come in, I can't engage with this, so he has lots of houses. That makes me not have to listen to this.
The principle is quite simple. When a public resource generates wealth, the public should share in that wealth. Artificial intelligence is being built on a public resource far more valuable than oil. It is the accumulated knowledge, creativity, and labor of all of humanity. Bottom line, the future of AI must not be decided behind closed doors in Silicon Valley. It must not be dictated by billionaires seeking to maximize their power and profits. It must be decided by workers, parents, teachers, artists, scientists, communities, and the American people. It is our future. We must decide it. Let's get it done. Thank you very much.
It's a great bill. I don't know why anybody would vote against that. Unless you were perhaps funded by these AI companies. All right, this is probably going to take up the rest of the time. I found this guy the other day. I've been
Hey guys,
watching,
it's Sasha.
a bunch of stuff. This guy's name's Sasha Yanshin. We'll subscribe while we're here. He covers mostly like stocks and economics, but this is the best. I probably went through like 20 of these because I don't know how to make a presentation, and so we're going to use his. But I went through a bunch of these trying to figure out like the best way to explain the Ponzi scheme that is these tech companies. And when you look at the fact that these tech companies basically they're making no money, they're bleeding money. They're all like investing in each other. They're taking that money and they're just bleeding it. And the revenue is nowhere near the amount of money that they're bringing in. So if you wonder how these stock prices keep going up, this is the best explanation I've heard. If economics isn't your thing, this is going to be the last video we show, and then we'll get out of here. We might end a little early today. I do have some family stuff I'm trying to take care of. I've been texting in between, but we may take off early if this doesn't take up the last hour. Electric Dad said Trump's appointing Bill Pulte, the home builder, as Tulsi Gabbard's replacement. Yeah, I saw that. Some dude who just like is a developer is now our head of intelligence. Literally no experience. He just is willing to fillet Donald Trump. So that's our new director of national intelligence. Cool.
In the last few weeks, the biggest tech companies in the world reported their earnings. And here's the thing. The profits weren't just good. They weren't even exceptional. The profits of tech companies absolutely exploded out of nowhere. This has never happened in the history of tech or the stock market, not in this way. And you might be wondering, where did all of this profit come from? Why is nobody talking about this? Well, grab yourself a bag of popcorn, because Google's profits went up 81% year on year. Not only that, but the profits increased by 82% compared to the previous quarter.
The chart here. This is magic. You'll see what he means by magic. How do you get this jump? This is what's propping up our stock market. How can everybody be struggling, but our stock market is soaring? We ask ourselves that all the time. And what do we always say? It's a Ponzi scheme. It's one big Ponzi scheme. There's a couple businesses that are propping up the stock market. It's a Ponzi scheme. You tell me we're just going to have this explosive growth out of nowhere? Where did it come from?
One of the most valuable companies in the world suddenly saw their profits increase by $28 billion.
Hey, Ken, let's not use slurs. Let's not call me a fruitcake, even regardless of who I decide to stick my dick into, besides your dad. I don't know where the fuck you think you are. The AIPAC is a problem, and AIPAC is a problem with Republicans and Democrats. They do largely own both sides of the aisle, except for a handful of people like Bernie Sanders, who is not owned by AIPAC, and we regularly criticize AIPAC and Israel and the Democrats and the Republicans. So I appreciate you being on your soapbox. Enjoy your ban for 24 hours, because we don't do slurs in here. Goeth and fucketh thyself. But next time you come back, sit around for more than 2 seconds before you start accusing people of being pro-Israel. You fucking loser. 24 hours for that, for Ken Cook, by the way. Thank you.
Almost doubled in 3 months. Amazon wasn't far behind. They posted a 77% profit increase, another absolutely insane quarter. And if you read the media...
Oh, never mind. Sorry, Ken. Ken said Bernie Sanders reminds us that Bernie Sanders is Jewish. Oh, so you're just anti-Semitic. So not 24 hours, permaban. We don't take anti-Semites here. Goeth and fucketh thyself forever, Ken. And tell your dad I said you got to tighten up that beehole. It's getting a little loose.
It sounds like the reason is pretty simple. Google and Amazon are doing really well with their cloud compute businesses. That's it. Those are growing fast. Everyone's using a lot more compute, a lot more cloud services, and that's why they're making a lot of money. Except that's not what happened. The big problem here is that these profits are fake. And maybe even worse than that, they're not fake by accident. This is a pre-planned maneuver which is designed to pump valuations of those companies by making up numbers.
Do I get paid to cry? No, I get paid to fuck your dad. And it pays well.
It's what somebody who wasn't careful with their words could maybe call a cartel. I, of course, would never insinuate anything of the sort. So let me explain to you exactly how these profits were faked. There's a few steps here, and it does get pretty ugly. If you look at the profit and loss statement for Google for Q1 2026, the most obvious thing that jumps right out is this line here called Other. All the different business lines that Google has, Google Search, YouTube, Google Cloud, Ads, everything that they do made a grand total of $39.7 billion as income from
well done,
operations.
Fabian. Circular funding. In other words, that's a fun word that people in finance use instead of saying fucking Ponzi scheme.
That's a lot of money, right? That's all of Google's actual business. It made almost $40 billion last quarter. And then there's this little line afterwards that just says Other. And Other is $37.7 billion, as much as the entire actual business put together. It basically doubles Google's income before tax. So what is this other income? Well, if you look on page 8 of the press release, you'll see that
Isn't
almost
that crazy that there's just an other income and you have to go digging for this? About to find out why all these people gave Donald Trump so much money.
all of that other income comes from the line called gain on equity securities. Ooh, sounds mysterious. Did Google hire Nancy Pelosi to make shrewd investments that yield thousands of % every year? Are they just really good at investing the money that they have? You know, maybe they use Gemini to tell them where to put it. They have a lot of money on the balance sheet. Maybe that's what they do. But a quick check on Google's balance sheet shows that the party is somewhere else. The non-marketable securities line is up by $40 billion in the last 3 months. The non-marketable bit
illusion, lay a towel down. Yeah, we're talking about securities again.
Means that this is investment in companies that are not publicly traded on the stock market. So you can't easily sell those shares. There's no market for them, hence they are not marketable. And that $40 billion is very close to the $38 billion that we saw sitting in the other line on the profit and loss statement. So I have a feeling you already know where this is going. In January 2023, Google invested $300 million for a...
All right, if you've checked out for a while, this is the part you need to check back in, because now we're going to undo the web of how these people are using circular funding, meaning how they just keep paying each other money that doesn't seem to actually exist, and their stock price keeps skyrocketing because it's showing record profits. This is a way to cash out big investors. It's a way to fund other ventures, but it's also a way to cash out investors. And you'll see as soon as we get to the end, as soon as we get to the point where there's no more liquidity, where there's no more venture capital to come into this anymore, they'll cash out and all of us will be left holding the bag and they will be fine.
Going. In January 2023, Google invested $300 million for a 10% stake in Anthropic. Then just 8 months later, in October 2023, Google invested another $500 million, promising to put 3 times as much, another $1.5 billion more into Anthropic, subject to meeting future conditions. Then in February 2026, Anthropic had their Series G funding round. During this round, Anthropic's valuation jumped from $183 to $380 billion, an increase of over 100%. And February 2026 was during Q1, the exact period that we're looking at the numbers for. So Anthropic's
Joey, LARPing his real assets. Yeah, well done.
Valuation doubled. And Google had a 14% stake, and that stake increased from around 25.6 to $53.2 billion. Which accounts for $27.6 billion in equity gain. So at 3/4 of the other line came from this funding round by Anthropic. And you know what's funny?
Where did Anthropic
Google
get their money?
Invested $10 billion themselves in order to push that valuation up. And here is a list of all the companies who invested during this round in February. Look carefully. If you look very closely, there is one name missing from this list, and that name is Google. They're not on this list. You know why? Because they made a separate agreement with Anthropic to invest their $10 billion a little bit later, in April 2026, instead of in February, along with everybody else. And why is this important? Well, it's because April is not in Q1. April is in Q2. So Google managed to defer the $10 billion investment to the start of Q2, but that investment in Q2 was the primary driver of the valuation which skyrocketed, at which everybody else was putting their money into Anthropic in Q1. Because if that was not the case...
Interesting, right? Didn't have to put your money in there. It's all speculation. It's all funny money. All of this is bullshit. Every time a Republican gets on TV and talks to you about the stock market, remember that it's all fake. They're just circulating money between each other. They're not actually making money. They're not actually growing. They're laying people off. They're just circulating money. And then retail investors like you and I are like, oh, we've got to catch this wave. And so then we invest and we think, oh, it's just going to go up forever and ever. And then one day the rug's going to be pulled and you're not going to have the insider information and all of your money will be gone, but they'll be fine.
If Google did not agree to that $10 billion deal back in February at the same time as everybody else was putting the money in, Why would they be able to invest at the same valuation as everybody else, while Anthropic apparently saw their revenues increase by
No, so he says cognitive dissonance. Yeah.
200% in the 3 months between that funding round and when Google officially put their $10 billion in. So here is the magic. Google put up $10 billion, but because that $10 billion came at a much higher valuation than the previous funding rounds, the gain on their investment came in at 3 times as much, almost 3 times as much. The last time I saw a business opportunity like that...
Okay, so just so we're clear, $40 billion investment that they didn't have to give until quarter 2, but they got credit for the investment in quarter 1. So the gains were roughly 120 billion, which would be 3 times 40 billion, right? They didn't actually give the 40 billion until they had already gained that money. How does that work? Can any of you do that? Can any of you right now take $400 and invest it in a company, but not have to pay that investment until the next quarter when it's tripled? Are any of you allowed to do that? Of course not. Just them. They're just allowed to do whatever the fuck they want. They're just allowed to like create money out of thin air. That's who's running our country. That's who's setting all of our tax policy. These are the people that you're like, you can't tax them or they'll leave. They're not going anywhere. We can tax them. We should tax them. We should have stock values that make sense. But no, we can't have that because we need them to keep rigging a system so that they can cash out.
Was when a mysterious Nigerian banker emailed me about a unique opportunity to collect $1.2 million by sending him just $280 to pay for the
Why on earth is the president allowed to trade stocks? He's not supposed to. I don't know, because everybody pretends that they're against corruption in the government and then they don't do anything about it.
Processing fees. Except in the case of Google, the way accounting standards work, they're allowed...
It's not Republicans, it's banks. It's Republicans. Banks don't write laws. There's 3 branches of government. One of them writes laws, and it's not banks, because banks aren't even one of the 3 branches of government. Let's try again.
That entire gain that they themselves created out of thin air straight into the profit line. Every time an investment that you hold goes up in value through a new funding round, your share of that company is reevaluated at the new valuation, even if you are the person who is doing that funding round and increasing the valuation yourself. And you have to report that in your profit and loss statement within the financial section, which is exactly where...
We need a sound for when some idiot says both sides are corrupt, and we need to play some sound so I don't have to say it. If anybody wants to create a noise that every time I see it I can just push the button. Shut up! Shut up! Nobody cares. It's a dumb opinion. It's like I have these cousins I used to go to movies with, and it would drive me nuts. We'd come out of the movie and they'd be like, "Hey, who am I?" And they would quote the fucking movie that we just saw. It's like, no shit. Who do you think that is? We just watched that movie together. Shut up. Nobody cares about that opinion. Democrats didn't vote for these tax cuts. Shut up. Amy said since the luxury tax in New York came about, apartments over 10 million being bought is up to 80%. So apparently not an issue.
The other line sits. And that's exactly what happened back in February. Anthropic's valuation went up to $380 billion because Google agreed to invest money, and Google immediately took a huge profit as a result. And that's how Google's profit went up by 82% in just 1 quarter. I wrote about this in my newsletter last week. If you want to get the completely free newsletter where I share my raw takes with no filter, go and sign up. It takes just 5 seconds. All you need is to fill your email. Link is in the description. But now, just 3 months after being valued at $380 billion, Anthropic has just announced a new funding round where they are now valued at $965 billion. This is happening
That's
during
so stupid. What's their revenue? What's Anthropic's revenue? Let's see. What do you guys think Anthropic's revenue is? What, 956 billion? Somebody get your calculator out. What was Anthropic's revenue in 2025? I think it's 4 billion or something. 4.5 billion. Okay. What's their total? What's their
Anthropic has just announced a new funding.
965 billion. They made 4.5 billion in revenue. What's that multiple? Somebody can do that. Take what we're looking at here for people who don't speak nerd. The multiple is your revenue versus your valuation. Like an 18x multiple, I think, is what Facebook got. So what's the multiple there to get to 965 billion? So you're going to take 965 divided by 4.5. What's the multiple there? What's that number?
Round where they are now
241. Okay, I see 241 and I see 450. Jesus Christ, how does nobody have the same number? 241. Okay, there's a lot of there's a couple 241s. Is it 241? When you took 965 divided by 4.5, 214. 214. 214 times their revenue is what they're valued at. Yeah, that makes fucking sense. Yeah, that makes total sense. You know what? Their revenue growth isn't even like on pace for that. Like their 2024 revenue was $1 billion. 214, like that doesn't make any fucking sense. Was Facebook's IPO, I think, was 18, right? It was 18x. Somebody check me on that. You telling me that Anthropic's revenue, they get a 215 or 215 point multiple or 214? That's insane. Nobody would invest at a 214 times multiple unless it was all fake and then you had retail investors who just didn't get it. No serious investor would invest in this without knowing that, like, oh, I'm going to be able to get out of this.
Valued at $965 billion. And this is happening during Q2. Google is once again not on the official list of investors. Although, remember how they promised to invest another $30 billion at some point in the future in the previous round? Well, this round includes $15 billion of previously committed investments from hyperscalers. So there you go. Read between the lines. And
no, they just didn't invest it. But now the valuation's going up because they're promising 15 billion of that will come. So they still didn't invest it. And the value somehow went up. This is brilliant. This is definitely what we needed. This is why billionaires need to keep their money. This is why we need to keep pumping money into AI. This is really working out for all of us. Ace Ventura said, "Did you know they sell ketchup by the slice now?" I was unaware of that.
Funding round will give Google over $75 billion in profit this quarter, which will significantly be way more than their entire actual business generates. This should
nice. Invested nothing. 75 billion. Yeah, why not?
Mean that their profit in Q2, when that is announced in 2 months' time, will go up by something like 280%. Instead of doing accounting and adding up what's happened, Google now just gets to decide how much profit they want, how they feel like every quarter.
It's all a fugazi. You know what a fugazi is? Fugazi. It's fake.
Because the reason Anthropic's valuation is going up is simply because the main investors, aka Google, feeding money into Anthropic every few months, decide what this new valuation should be.
So far I've been watching it. No, this 3 minutes of this stream is not proof, but I doubt you could tell me what we're watching. The proof is actually been shown in this stream of their investment and their return on investment. It is here. It is here. Just go fact check it. If you don't believe it, you can go fact check it. But I have this sneaking suspicion you just don't know what it's saying.
But every time that they do it, the valuation seems to magically be 2 times higher, 3 times higher than the previous.
But I'm not complaining about successful people. I'm complaining about crooks. I don't like crooks. You don't know the difference between the two.
Time, even though the company that they're investing in continues losing money and the rate at which the money is being lost is accelerating. And guess what Anthropic is doing with all of that money that they are being given in funding rounds?
So the piece I'm missing is there ever a cash out? If it's all if it's all play money, where do they make the real money? Well, the cash out comes before the crash. So the way that markets don't crash because a company does poorly. Right? The markets are a reflection of people's willingness to invest. So when a market crashes, when their stock price crashes, it's because people sell the stock. or people are selling the stock, or there's a fear that people are going to sell the stock, and so you start to see people panic and pull out their money. So a crash happens kind of in two ways, and one of two ways or a combination of them. Right now, we're already seeing retail investors take off. The reason that we have to keep pumping money into these AI companies is because retail investors largely, and that's you and I, have kind of panicked, and people have pulled their money out of these stocks. And so the VC money, the venture capital money, the private money has to keep coming in, but they don't have any fucking money. They're all out of money. They've invested all of their money. So they're doing this, like Google is doing this. They're just printing money out of thin air to artificially raise the price of the stock. Now, if Google panics at some point, they can just sell their stock. If they dump their stock on the open market, it will crash. So so they don't want to do that. So they're gonna slowly exit their positions, and they're gonna exit their positions without killing the stock price, and they're gonna do that all the way up. So that's what they're doing. They're unloading these positions in increments as it goes up, and that's why they're doing fake math, because they need that to go up. As soon as everybody figures out that this is all fake, the markets, like retail investors, are going to pull. There will be pressure on all these other investors to pull their money out. The pressure will be overwhelming, and the whole thing collapses. So they're just getting their exit, and most of them are already at multiples. They've made their money back. Most of these principal investors like Andreessen Horowitz and Peter Thiel, they've already got their money back. So now this is a money printing machine, and they're just going to keep going until it crashes. But they've already made their money. They've already put their money elsewhere. They've already liquidated their positions past like where their initial investment was. They're all good. But now it's just gravy. And for some reason, we have members of Congress, because they want to get elected, and this does happen on both sides, that consistently point to the market like, hey, we're doing great. Look at the market. Look at your 401k. Look, we're all winning. Not really. Because when it crashes, if you're not ahead of it, that's all going to be wiped out. And yes, you'll get that back eventually. You get that value back eventually. But it doesn't replace that, right? Because the market just always goes up. So if you didn't have that crash, the market would keep going up. So you'll get back to that level again. But yeah, this is how they steal from us. This is why the billionaire, ever since we introduced trickle-down economics and massive tax breaks for the wealthy, this is why their wealth exponentially increases. And every year it goes on, they figure out more and more ways to rig this system. This is absolute criminality. None of you could get away with this. You'd all be in jail if you did this. They just don't, because they pay everybody off. And it's impossible to audit them. Do you think it's legal in this country to do what they're doing? Of course not. Of course it's not. But is anybody going to prosecute them? No. Would they even have the money to prosecute them? Could they even figure it out? No, they just tied up in litigation forever, and then they're going to settle. They make the laws so convoluted for these people that it's basically impossible to catch them in a crime.
Where is it all going?
Yeah, that's a good point too. And our national debt increases because we can't pay our bills. So the benefit we get from all this shit is they get richer, they own a bigger percentage of the wealth, and our national debt grows. Cool. It's one of the most moronic things that has ever existed. Trickle-down economics. It is a catastrophic failure. It does not work. There is no math on earth that says it works. It's just an ideology that some of you won't let go of, which is bizarre.
Well, some of it is now actually going to Elon Musk, because recently released documents ahead of the SpaceX IPO show that XAI business is hugely unprofitable, as nobody's actually using Grok and is making no money. And so in order to actually try and make some cash, SpaceX has now decided to rent both of their data centers that they built in Memphis, Colossus 1 and Colossus 2, to Anthropic to power Claude. But not...
Okay. So Anthropic is propped up by fake money. Grok is struggling. Nobody uses Grok because it's dog shit, but they have these big servers. And so Anthropic is going to now use their fake money to give business to Grok. By the way, all the same investors. It's all the same circles. They're all invested in each other. So now you're going to have Anthropic use Grok or use the service for Grok, and that's going to look like revenue for SpaceX, which is for some reason now, like, they have servers, which was originally Twitter. Twitter's now under SpaceX for some reason. Do you see how none of this makes any fucking sense? Nobody has any money, but they're able to spend billions. Remember when Zuckerberg said, like, I'm going to invest $300 billion, and then on a hot mic, he's like, I didn't know what number you wanted me to say, Donald. I just made up a number. It's because it's not real money. None of it's real.
Only that. Anthropic has much bigger deals with Google to rent Google's data centers as well, and specifically
Hold up. So Anthropic is sending revenue to Google to use their data centers. Google is then sending that money back to Anthropic to invest in Anthropic, while both their stocks go up, and then Anthropic gives the money to Google, and it's just, that's the circular money. It's not real money. Money's not actually changing hands. They're just inflating their stock price, and they're just selling along the way.
TPU chips, which are in-house. Here is an article from Anthropic's own website, which says they are planning to give tens of billions of dollars right.
Yes, it's a good point. Thank you, Juliet Dravin. Anthropic is getting ready to go public. So is SpaceX. Why? Covered this yesterday. They're about to go public so they can cash out, and they're going to go at these really high valuations. And their IPO, and then Congress changed the laws for them. You used to have to wait 90 days before you could, after the IPO, before you could sell stock. Now I think it's 5 days. So Congress just quietly changed the rules. So this is the exit strategy for all of them. They're just boosting all of this. Even all those investments that Donald Trump has claimed that he's got, the 18 trillion. He keeps saying that this 18 trillion is going to go into these companies, and that's artificially raised the price of those companies. They're just fleecing you. And I don't think they're going to be so brazen because they want to keep doing this forever. I don't think they're going to be so brazen that they completely tank the stock. But you're going to see a significant, like, you're going to see a crash, and that crash will be significant, but not so significant that everybody thinks that these people's heads should be on a stake. And then they'll just do it again. And until we get rid of people in this government who think giving these people tax breaks and letting them write the tax law is a good idea, this will just continue.
Back to Google after receiving that money from Google in the first place. So Google gives Anthropic $10 billion. Because they gave Anthropic $10 billion, Google gets to go and put $28 billion of profit into their latest earnings. You following? And then Anthropic gives $10 billion right back to Google as revenue because they are using Google's data centers. So Google is left standing there with just a magic $28 billion of profit that came out of thin air. They get their money back. In Q1, Google's cloud business saw its revenue increase by 63% to $20 billion, led by an increase across enterprise AI solutions and enterprise AI infrastructure. Who do you think increased their spend on AI with Google by 63% in the last quarter? And even better, Google's cloud business is running on a 33% operating margin. So that $20 billion in revenue brings in almost $7 billion in operating profit. So not only does Google receive their $10 billion back from Anthropic, but even better, that money that they just cycled, they get to profit another $3.3 billion on their profit and loss statement. Because they gave money to Anthropic, they gave it back, but in the form of revenue. If you strip out the circular money movement between Google and Anthropic, if you exclude the cloud segment, the rest of Google's business is growing at 16% in the most recent quarter. Now, don't get me wrong, that's pretty
good growth. 33% growth. So 16, what's that for? 13, 17% of their growth is just made up. And that's how their stock price goes up, because they make it up.
Good. That's a reasonable rate of growth for a big company, but not quite the 81% that they published.
Before 81%. Sorry, I thought we were 33%.
Latest explosion in circular money movements, Google's cloud business was growing at around 20 to 30% per year. And now that number is 63%, which suggests that more than half of that growth is coming purely in the form of giving money to Anthropic and receiving the same money back. If you add that to the other line that we saw before, then over $30 billion of the profit in the most recent quarter that Google made came from Google giving $10 billion to Anthropic and then receiving it back into their compute line revenue. And then remember that Google also owns something like 6.1% of SpaceX, and SpaceX have just announced that they plan on going public at an absurd $2 trillion valuation.
What's SpaceX's revenue? Let's figure out that evaluation. What was SpaceX revenue 2025? Somebody's going to have to do this one for me, too. Jesus Christ. All right, SpaceX revenue was $18.6 billion. So we need, what did he say? 2 trillion?
Something like 6.1% of SpaceX. And SpaceX have just announced that they plan on going public at an absurd $2 trillion
Okay,
value.
how many times is 18? Let's just do this. This multiple is going to be insane. Anybody want to guess what this multiple is? What was the last one? 107 times revenue. Yeah, for sure. For sure, SpaceX is worth 107 times revenue. Yeah. Again, Facebook, which I believe was one of the biggest multipliers ever at the time, was 18x. Awesome. This is why Elon was willing to spend all this money to get Trump elected.
Valuation. And part of that valuation is because they are now going to rake in huge revenues from renting out their data centers to Anthropic, who are using Google's money to pay for those data centers. And guess what? The value of the SpaceX shares is also going up. So the increase in the value of SpaceX is also adding to Google's bottom line. It's funny how it all works, right? And Google is obviously not the only one doing this. They're all at it. That's not how cartels work. Oops. Sorry, Freudian slip there. Of course, I didn't mean to say that whatsoever. But Amazon is doing exactly the same thing. And
Google employs 200,000 people and spends $60 billion a year on research. What's the problem? The problem is you seem to be watching a different video than we are. Jesus fucking Christ. None of that is related to anything we're talking about, you silly biscuit. We're talking about the way that they use circular funding to artificially prop up their stock price. Good Lord.
This is how their profits blew up in the last quarter, out of nowhere. That is absolutely identical. Their investments are going up in value.
Don't get mad at me, Dad. Just got here. Well, don't say that. What, I'm not going to make fun of you for that. Why are you throwing out stats if you just got here? What do you want me to do? I'm not the one that said it. Sit around for a second. Why are you arguing if you didn't know what we were talking about? Pay attention.
Because Amazon is putting more money into those investments along with Google. Anthropic agreed to spend $200...
I'm sorry. Did you get triggered? I'm sorry, Danny. It's just a comment. Yeah, it was a dumb comment. We make fun. When I say dumb things, I get made fun of. Toughen up.
$1 billion of Google's money with Google over the next 5 years, and they also agreed to spend $100 billion of Amazon's money with Amazon Web Services over the next decade. And I know what you're thinking. Google goes and gives Anthropic $10 billion as an investment, and Google receives the $10 billion back as revenue from Anthropic for using their data centers. Google gets a massive profit without actually having to do nothing. Then Google gives Anthropic the same $10 billion again as a new investment, but at a new valuation that is twice as high as the previous one. Then they receive that money back again in revenue, and they get a massive load of profit again. And so
Wendy's doesn't cut the corners of their beef patties. What's the problem? That's a great point. That point is as significant to this conversation.
And so on, repeat 20 times, and you have a $200 billion investment without ever needing to actually have $200 billion or give it to anyone in the first place. And this sounds awfully like circular dealing or round tripping, which is where a company cycles the same money over and over through their own books to artificially inflate their revenue and profits. But round tripping, you see, is illegal for obvious reasons. So if that is what you thought is happening here, you are most definitely 100% for sure not correct. Maybe. Wait, I'm not sure if I got that right.
They said round tripping. Illusion just finished. Clean it up, Illusion. I know how happy that made you.
Anyway, it reminds me of that old joke where a millionaire is asked how he became rich. And he goes, well, I went and bought one dirty apple on the market. I washed it and sold it for double the money. Then with that money, I bought 2 dirty apples. I went home and I washed those and I sold them. And then I bought 4 dirty apples. And then my rich grandma died and left me $20 billion in her will. We have come to a point in the economic cycle where the biggest companies in the world are actively engineering fake profits to make it look like they're growing really fast so that their valuations keep going up. Back in 2019, Saudi Aramco became the first company ever to break the $2 trillion market cap. At that point, companies like Google and Microsoft were sitting at valuations of around $1 trillion each. Fast forward to today.
It is a tricky accent. I'm torn between New Zealand and South Africa. Where are you guys landing on his accent?
7 years later, and Saudi Aramco is worth approximately $1.8 trillion, just 10% less than in 2019. But in just the last 2 years,
Dutch?
The big tech companies have crossed
I don't know a Dutch accent.
the $3 trillion mark, and then the $4 trillion valuation mark, and Nvidia became the first company to become worth $5 trillion in October. And this has made the people running these companies incredibly rich. Nvidia have just announced that they are increasing their dividend from 1 cent to 25 cents per share. Jensen Huang, the CEO of Nvidia, holds something like 930 million shares, including ones in trusts and through indirect ownership. So he will now receive almost $1 billion in cash per year through dividends to add to the $182 billion that he has in the
dividends. Jensen Huang is getting $1 billion in cash in dividends. Jensen Huang, what was Nvidia's revenue? 2025? 130 billion. Out of all of that money, he gets $1 billion annually. He's worth that much? He's worth $1 billion a year annually? Damn. It's a lot of work he's doing. Thank God he's got all of those people that work for him that are making nowhere near that.
Value of his shares. Every senior leader at these companies benefits financially, benefits personally from the revenues and the profits of all these companies collectively going up through the roof, no matter how precisely exactly that happens. So these repeated funding rounds for AI companies where the valuations are going to more and more absurd levels keep happening every few months. It would seem like a really bad joke if I told you 5 years ago that Google would announce earnings where more than half of their profit was fake. But that's the reality that we're in today.
You can find thousands of videos on that on the internet right now. That's not even, this is something we've been talking about for a long time, but it's like, it's not even conspiracy theory anymore. Like, it's just generally accepted amongst people who pay attention to this. I don't know of anybody. Steve Eisman is a podcast I watch a lot. He's the guy from that was played by Steve Carell in The Big Short. I forget what his name is in The Big Short. It's a fake name, but Steve Eisman's the character that was based on. He has a podcast, and he just brings on experts every single time. They're like, yeah, I mean, it's crazy to hear how they talk about it too. They're just like, yeah, I mean, this is a bubble. This is all fake. But how long can we keep it going? Where should you put your money? How should you invest your money right now? And there's just like, it's just podcast after podcast after podcast of going, yeah, this is all fucking bullshit. This is all imaginary. That being said, which imaginary stock should we put our money into, and when can we expect that stock to implode? So we need to make sure that we can get out at the right time. That's every financial podcast I listen to. Every one of them. Illusions. Mark Baum. Thank you. Illusion is who he plays. But that's everyone. If you listen to any of these financial podcasts, they're all literally saying the exact same thing. This is crazy. It's never happened before. And the reason that it diverts into politics is, yes, it is not. We don't need to necessarily blame the politicians for this stuff, but these are the people that lobby the politicians. And the politicians, then, it's their job to take that message and spit it out in a way to you that is palatable and that is easy to understand and easy for you to repeat. So what you repeat is the same shit we see every single day. You're just jealous that they're rich. You hate rich people. You hate money. How dare you take money when you're criticizing these people for taking money? There's a certain amount of money in circulation. There's a certain amount. Every time we add to that money, it devalues the money that you have. So if you're, and there's different ways to add to that money. You can add to that money by the treasury, the mint, minting more money and printing more money and putting it out into circulation. Another way that they've done this is by allowing banks to loan, up to 20x what they actually have in their reserves. So there's more money in circulation than there actually is physical money. And then another way that you can do it is you can take these tech companies and you can allow them to circularly, can you say that? Invest in each other. And that raises the value of these stocks, which again, because that's technically increasing the amount of money in supply, it devalues all of your currency. So this stuff hurts you every step of the way. And the one thing that we do in politics so well is we look at the mint and we go, that's the problem. It's the government. They print money. That's the problem. But nobody ever talks about banks just making up money out of thin air. Nobody talks about market manipulation that just pulls money out of midair. Google 10x'd their profits on a $10 billion investment that they didn't even give on time. And who knows if they even ever gave the money. And they were able to make insane returns without investing anything. Why? Because on paper, it looks like they're investing. And these are all the same founders working together. They might, their companies might be at odds with each other, but they're all funded by the same venture capitalists. They're all funded by the same people. And so these people are just moving money around. And they do it, sometimes they do it to help each other out. Sometimes they do it to make money, but they're all working in connection with each other. That's the problem with this 1% of 1%. It's not just that they have a lot of money. It's that they control so much money. Even the money that they don't have, they control. They control your money. They're now controlling the money of these investment accounts that Trump has invested in, right? Though I guess Dell funded them, but now they're controlling that as well. They're controlling your 401ks. We talked last week about how when SpaceX IPO goes public, within 5 days, automatically, any of you that are invested in a fund that picks up the top 100 companies, automatically SpaceX will be in there, and you will be funding SpaceX. And the people that got in early will be using your investments collectively to cash out their money. So you'll see SpaceX, it'll IPO, it's going to go up a little, and it's going to crash pretty hard. And then it'll flatten out, and it'll slowly come back up. And everybody will be like, oh, well, it didn't go bankrupt. And that'll be the story that's on CNBC, on Fox Business. They'll be like, oh, man, they really overestimated their valuation. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. No, the fuck they didn't. They want it as high as they possibly can because they're going to tank it. And they can't kill it because they need that company to exist, but they need a lot of wiggle room to be able to tank that stock to get their investment back. And they're doing it on the backs of you and I. And it's right in your fucking face. This isn't conspiracy. This is it's happening in broad daylight. Everybody knows it. It's just that nobody wants to do anything about it. That's why, for me, I back progressive candidates. I only would even consider backing a candidate who wants to put an end to this, who wants all money out of politics, who who wants to rewrite our tax laws and cut out all these loopholes. I don't fucking care if you leave it at 37% for the top tax bracket. I don't fucking care. As long as the effective rate is somewhere around 37%, that's a huge improvement. Even if we just cut out all the fucking loopholes. We don't necessarily have to take that marginal rate up to 60, 70, 80, 90%. A start would be, if your tax rate is 37%, how about you fucking pay anywhere near 37%? How about that? And yes, you know what their rate, the amount of taxes that they would pay would probably be like 70, 80, 90%. And then those same billionaires would be funding their politicians to tell you, so you would come into this chat to repeat well, did you know that the top 1% actually pays 90% of the taxes? Yeah, because they have 90% of the money. That's how this shit works. That's how taxes work. It's based on your income. That's why you pay the percentage that you pay. Just because they have all the money doesn't mean they're never gonna be able to get all those benefits for the amount they pay. Who cares? They already benefited off of all your labor. They benefited, these AI companies are benefiting on centuries of knowledge acquired by humans who won't see a fucking dime for any of this. And then Bernie Sanders is like, hey, what if we got paid on this stuff? Since it's our knowledge, if they're going to kill jobs, why don't we share in this? Maybe we could pay for things like healthcare. And then we look to the billionaires. MAGAs look to the billionaires. What do we say here? Tell them that's socialism and it's bad. Socialism's bad. What are you, a commie? Move to Cuba. And then we have to deal with this shit every fucking day. Republicans, respectfully, this is too obvious. This is too obvious for you to poo-poo, to ignore. This is your future. This is the future of your children. It's time for you to drop like the hysterics and the hyperbole about socialism. This is just theft. They're just stealing from the poor. They're stealing from the middle class. Like they cut subsidies to poor people, give tax breaks to the rich. And now they're saying, well, we do need the middle class to invest in these companies so that we can cash out. And when Americans aren't investing because we don't have any money, then Trump's like, I've got an idea. What if I start getting people to put foreign investment into our markets, and that'll prop up your stock price, and then you can cash out? Because we don't even have enough Americans that are able to inflate these prices for them. That's why all this foreign investment's coming in. That's why Peter Thiel bought J.D. Vance. That's why Elon Musk gave Trump $300 million. It's really not that hard to figure out. It's sinister, but it's not hard to figure out. They knew Donald Trump would be more than happy to be corrupt. He would be more than happy to use our foreign policy to force foreign countries to invest in AI companies here in the United States to prop up that price so these people can exit. And he's making billions off these exits as well. You better believe that when the crash finally comes, all these positions that Trump has taken with his stocks, they'll just magically time it right, and he'll get out before the crash. And you guys will be like, yep, that's him. He's just brilliant. That's what made him a billionaire. He's a smart trader. He knows when things are going down. Or there's like 20 people who control fucking everything, and it's not the Jews, it's not the Rothschilds, it's not the New World Order. It's legitimately the PayPal mafia. You've seen their faces, you know their names, you see them on Joe Rogan's podcast all the time trying to convince you that they're human. It's Mark Zuckerberg. I drink coffee recreationally. It's Mark Andreessen. It is Elizabeth Warren has this goon squad that goes after and debanks everybody. I hate Elizabeth Warren. I hate debanking. It's the same fucking people. It's 12 people that are doing all of this. We all know their names. We all know that they're fucking psychos. It's Sam Altman going, I don't really know if humanity is going to survive. It's Peter Thiel going, I don't think maybe humanity should survive. It's Elon Musk like, what if we went to Mars? Can we live on Mars, please? I'm going to go to Mars. That's it. It's not that hard to figure out. I don't know why we allow ourselves to be completely run and operated by a bunch of corrupt fucking LARPer dipshits, but somehow we've been convinced that they're so fucking brilliant because they just figured out that if they laid low long enough, they could completely control the economy, and now they completely control the government. And here we go. Is the anti-AI slur allowed here? What is the anti-AI slur? Not if it's bad. I don't know what it is. This guy Fox says, taxing the rich will kill jobs. Universal health care will kill jobs. Regulation will kill jobs. But when it comes to AI, we're told, oh, it is what it is. That's such a good point. The thing that actually kills jobs, they're like, well, that's capitalism, baby. Illusion said, tax capital gains immediately and add wealth taxes. Yeah, you should tax unrealized gains too. If we taxed unrealized gains, they wouldn't be able to do this. We realize that, right? That's one of those things that everybody freaks out. Like, oh, what if you tax unrealized gains, there will be no money left to invest. Yeah, because it's fake. So if you tax the unrealized gains and they're getting taxed on fake money, then yeah, the stock market will act more appropriately. It'll act like a real market. It'll be up and down. It won't just be like constantly going up and then a crash and then constantly going up. Yeah. Free market capitalists don't want to have the markets act appropriately. We like free markets, but only when they go up. And the only way they can just keep going up is if it's rigged. So we like rigged markets. Take Note says, tech CEO's primary job now is to pump the stock and go after the political left. We don't fire them anymore, and now they are running our monetary system. Facts. Yeah, every one of these people, every tech CEO. And there was this change happened, I want to say it was like the early 90s. I can't remember when it was. But basically all these tech companies realized at one point, hey, if we want to incentivize our CEO, if we want to make the most amount of money, we're going to pay the CEO in stock instead. So these CEOs don't necessarily get like massive salaries. Some of them get good salaries, but they're own, like the majority of what they're making, they're not calling it their salary, but what their net worth is going to be stock. And so their number one goal is to raise the price of that stock. So are they working for the workers? No. Are they working for the customer? No. Are they trying to create a product that everybody wants to use? No. They're trying to create a product that people will invest in and continue to invest in. And when the product doesn't go that well, then you have to do hype. And when the hype doesn't work, then you have to bring in foreign investment. When the foreign investment dries up, then you have to be like, what if we just started investing with each other to artificially keep raising these prices because we have no other options? And they're like, that's fine. Trump's president. Republicans are in charge. They will literally just look the other way. They're not going to do anything to stop this. In fact, if we want to fuck them while we're doing it, they'll probably just be like, yeah, you can fuck us if you want. We don't care. Mike Johnson first in line. Me first. Me first. It's pathetic. I think I got all that. Was there any other comments that came in? Let me make sure. Jamar said, Robin Hood, these bitch-ass rich mofos. All right, that's it for us today. Guys, we'll be back. Jen, did I miss anything, actually, before I go?
Another super chat.
What's that?
There was another super chat.
You sending it? It might be late on mine.
It said from taking notes, text. Oh, wait.
I got that one. Yeah, I just read that. Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Anything else?
Nope.
All right, everybody. We will see you tomorrow morning and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time, right here on TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. I think we made it. Did we stay up on TikTok the whole time? Hot damn. We're still here. We are under heavy restriction, but we made it by the skin of our teeth. Tomorrow morning, we'll see. I can't wait to see all of you guys there. Until then, go outside and touch grass. If you can't touch grass, smoke grass. Preferably touch grass and smoke grass at the same time. Reach down, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and then take those boots and put them on the street. Look in the mirror, say something nice about yourself. Drink lots of water. And until I see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, stay cute and cool, and have a great summer.